Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Godlike Naruto reincarnation of Inuyasha. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by BROWNPAPERBAG51 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 Midoriko. Naruto Uzumaki stood on a hill looking down at a random village with a small shard of a jewel in his hand. The village he was looking at wasn't a shinobi village, quite the contrary, those days had passed. Yes, they'd passed about 1,500 years after he defeated Madara and the other tailed beasts in combat. Of course, he had some help which came from the previous Kyuubi. I say previous because as Naruto lay dying from a near-death blow delivered by Madara, the Kyuubi panicked, giving Naruto all of its power. What the fox didn't realize was Naruto already possessed a tail's worth of chakra without its power. When the transformation died down, Naruto stood before Madara, a 10-tailed demon, giving him more than enough power to defeat Madara. It also gave him the chance to restore order to the world by doing one simple thing, which was to leave the world, so no one would be tempted to try to use his now great power with the rest of the Biju gone. Flashback. Naruto watched from the shadows as 1,500 years passed, and as he watched he noticed two very important things. One, humans slowly but surely lost the ability to use chakra until the time came where they hadn't even heard of it. The second was demons became normal. Most were low-level demons, but demons nonetheless. The low-level ones Naruto allowed the humans to handle themselves, but the ones he thought would cause great damage he dealt with himself. His plan was to destroy the demons, then get out of sight. Unfortunately for him, a group of humans saw and dubbed him Inari, the fox god, because he helped the humans before disappearing. That people began to worship him. The trend continued for 50 years until one day when he went to get some fish from a lake, he was approached by an incredibly beautiful human woman with long black hair that stopped at her lower back. The top half of her body was clad in a grayish battle armor. Finally, she wore a long red battle dress. The woman stood in front of Naruto, who simply glanced at her before turning back to the fish he'd caught, causing the woman to scoff in anger at his lack of disrespect. This caused the woman to ignore his incredibly powerful yokai and approach him, then almost cockily put her hand on his back, expecting his yokai to purify, only to watch in horror as he simply continued to gather his fish. The woman, seeing something was different about this demon, drew her sword, which was now covered in her purification aura, and sliced at Naruto's head. As she made contact, she noticed her sword didn't even penetrate his long blonde spike hair. The woman now worried the demon in front of her, maybe too strong, gathered every bit of her spiritual power and sliced at him one last time. This time she aimed at his neck, piercing it, but not enough to do any real damage. Exhausted, the woman fell to the ground, stunned that she couldn't do anything against the monster that now stood over her, as the thought of death passed through her mind as she lost consciousness. 2 hours later, the woman awoke and put a hand to her throbbing head, then noticed that she was lying on something incredibly soft. She also noticed that her armor and clothes had been removed, leaving her exposed. The woman started to sit up until a noise caused her to lay back down and pretend like she was asleep. Once the door opened, she noticed the demon from earlier walking toward her with something in his hand. Afraid he might try to violate her, she started to get up only to find the demon running something cool and wet over her forehead, which helped her a great deal with her headache. The woman started to relax until her survival training kicked in, causing her to strike at the demon's face with her hand, which didn't faze him in the least. The woman looked the demon in the eyes and realized that he wasn't going to hurt her, which surprised her since her teacher told her that all demons were bad, though the demon in front of her caused her to rethink everything she had learned, only to be broken out of her brainstorming by someone talking to her. "I'm sorry, demon, what did you say?" the woman said, looking at it. "Your name, what's your name?" "It's Midoriko." "That's a beautiful name, mine's Naruto, though most humans refer to me as Inari." Hearing what he referred to himself as made her realize exactly why she couldn't defeat him. Even among Miko he was a god, and though they would never want to kill him since he killed other demons, the powerful Mikos did want to have a chance to battle him to see where they measured up. "I'm sorry, great Inari-sama, I didn't know it was you." "Please don't call me that, call me Naruto." Midoriko nodded excitedly, only to have it turn to nervousness again. Would he decide to kill her for attacking him for the simple fact he was a demon, or would he simply find her too weak to kill? "I see that you are troubled, Midoriko, do not worry, I take no offense to you attacking me earlier. To be truthful, I was quite impressed. You are the first demon or human to reach my body in over 500 years. Naruto said, causing Midoriko's eyes to widen in shock and awe at how one being could be so dominant for so long. "Thank you for the compliment, Inari, I mean Naruto-sama. You know, Midoriko, you could help me out. You see, I have no doubt that you have a powerful teacher, but being that I am a demon, I could show you things your teacher couldn't dream of." Midoriko was once again shocked. Not only had she managed to impress a great demon, but she was going to be trained by him as well, though she didn't want to be ungrateful. "I accept your offer, Naruto-sama, but I don't want to be a burden," Midoriko said. Naruto waved her off as he left the room while explaining that her training would begin tomorrow and that she would be wise to get some sleep. The next day before they started, Naruto asked Midoriko what she was doing in Area No for demons, which she explained was the place she decided to begin her journey to slay demons. With that, Naruto showed Midoriko where and how to deal with demons she was drawn to. Causing the young Miko to ask what he meant, Naruto explained that she was drawn to powerful demons, while weaker demons are drawn to her. Naruto then showed her how to spot good demons who would mean her no harm. When asked what the difference was, Naruto explained that if she foolishly went after demons who posed no threat to her, she would needlessly be wasting her spiritual powers. He then gave her an example, having her fight a powerful evil demon. Midoriko was able to pull out the victory, though she was very tired. Naruto then picked her up and took her to fight a powerful good demon that was able to defeat Midoriko because of how tired she was. Faced with the logic, Midoriko reluctantly agreed that Naruto was right, though Naruto knew it would take her some time to be able to recognize between good and evil demons, but she would be able to in time. Year 1. The first year went by slowly, at least that's how Midoriko felt every day as Naruto had her practice with various different weapons, so should the need ever arise, or she found herself with a weapon other than her trusty sword, she wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Once he felt she'd made some, he moved her to what he called sensing training, where he would blindfold Midoriko, then attack her, while forcing her to rely on her natural Miko powers. At first he would flare his yokai wildly, making it easy to pick up where he was, but the deeper she got into that training, Naruto would flare his power less and less. At the end of the year, Naruto told Midoriko she had done well and it was time for her test, something that surprised the young Miko. Encouraged by Naruto's praise, Midoriko went with Naruto to the site where the test would take place. When they arrived, Midoriko noticed they were at the base of a mountain that had yokai coming out of it. Naruto explained to Midoriko as he blindfolded her she would be tested in the 2 subjects she'd learned so far. "But I thought you said that I was doing great." Midoriko wondered out loud, causing her demonic master to smirk at her. "I did, but you need to be tested properly. See, if you simply train with me, your body and mind understand that I'm not going to kill you, but now you will be fighting against demons that will want nothing more than to kill you and devour you for your Miko powers." But that said, Naruto gave her a bow and arrows, then slammed his fist into the side of the mountain, causing hundreds of demons to come out. As the demons exited the mountain, they noticed Midoriko's powerful aura and changed their course, heading right toward her. Midoriko heard a loud boom, then felt a great deal of the yokai that was in the mountain coming at her. Calmly she sensed where the demons were before shooting them with her arrows. As she continued to destroy the demons, Midoriko felt some of the demons separate from the rest and moved toward her from her left side. Feeling that the demons were coming at her straight on had weakened, she turned her attention to the demons coming from her left. Midoriko easily destroyed a great deal of them, but could feel that a few had somehow gotten away her. Knowing they were now too close to get enough arrows out to kill them, she reached for her sword she kept on her waist, only to find something else. Midoriko panicked slightly as she tried to id the weapon, only to realize that it was a battle axe, a weapon she'd worked with on the first part of her training. Knowing it was too late to complain, she used the axe to destroy the 5 demons that had gotten away from her earlier. Naruto chuckled as he looked at the exhausted Miko, who collapsed the moment she felt all the demons had been destroyed. With a chuckle, Naruto smiled as he picked the Miko up and carried her back to his home that was hidden by an illusion of a cave. Midoriko awoke several hours later in a daze as she looked around and saw food next to the thing she was lying in that Naruto called a bed. As she ate the food, Midoriko remembered what happened earlier, causing her to stand up, albeit woozily, before walking out of the room to find Naruto sitting on a chair. "Well, hey there, sleepy," Naruto said with a grin from ear to ear. "You switched my sword with a battle axe without my knowledge. Are you trying to get me killed?" Naruto smiled as he put his hands up in surrender. Now you know I wouldn't try to kill you, I just wanted to see how you would react when you were caught off guard, and I must say you handled it magnificently." Midoriko blushed slightly while backing off Naruto and took a seat next to him. "So now what?" "Now we move to the second phase of your training, which will be to strengthen your spiritual energy," Naruto said as Midoriko nodded. "Year 2. Naruto explained to Midoriko that in order to strengthen her spiritual power, she would need to oppose a force a great deal stronger than herself. Luckily for her, one such force stood before her. Naruto calmly surrounded himself in a tail's worth of power before telling Midoriko she'd have to use a weapon surrounded by her spiritual power to get through his barrier. Midoriko unsheathed her sword, then covered it in her spiritual energy before thrusting it forward, only to have it stonewalled by Naruto's yokai. Midoriko looked at Naruto, who smirked at her as he encouraged her to try again. Naruto laughed as Midoriko sliced at his barrier. He knew she wasn't ready to cut through a tail's worth of power, but that wasn't the point. The point was to see exactly where her spiritual power was, and if he had to be honest, she was stronger than a good deal of demons in this time. The problem was she wasn't even close to purifying Shikaku's power. If he could get her to Nibi's power, she'd be able to take on any demon of this time without any problems. Naruto ordered Midoriko to stop, then had her surround herself with her own spiritual energy. Okay Midoriko, what you're going to do is sit here in this spot until I come for you. At no point should I feel your power waver at all, or you will have failed. Naruto ignored Midoriko's complaining as he headed back to his house, leaving said Maiko outside as it started to rain. Naruto smiled as a day went by, and not once had he felt Midoriko's power waver. He could feel her power growing slowly, figuring she could last 2 days without any food. Naruto watched a Maiko from a tree for most of the day. When the second day came around, Naruto could feel Midoriko's power still rising, which confused him when she attacked him a year ago. He determined her power and she wasn't this strong. What could have changed so much between a year ago and this moment? Once day 3 came, Naruto found himself sitting behind the Maiko whose concentration hadn't faltered in the least. Naruto, I know you're there. Is there something you want? Naruto ignored her, focusing instead on her steadily building power, which had become a great deal stronger in the past 2 days. He estimated that if her power kept building at this rate, she'd have the ability to purify Shikaku's power in 4 more days. He also knew she was doing this with sheer force of will on the count of while he was focusing on her, he could hear her stomach growling. On the 4th day, Naruto came out of his house with some fish, only to find the Maiko he'd been training unconscious, probably from the lack of food. As he carried Midoriko back to the house, the thought of how powerful she could be at the end of this year or the next which excited him. It seemed like the only 2 students he'd ever trained were on their way to great things. For the next week, Naruto continued to train Midoriko, and Midoriko continued to get stronger. By the end of the week, Midoriko's spiritual power had become strong enough to purify Shikaku's level of power, which excited Naruto to no end. Once he gave Midoriko a 2-day rest. Naruto had her attempt to break through a barrier of yokai, only this time he strengthened it to Nibi's level of power. As Naruto watched his student attempt to get through his barrier, he noticed the same type of determination that he possessed back when he was growing up. Midoriko, stop. Said Maiko stop, then watched as her demonic sensei dropped his barrier and walked her over to a pond that was close to the cave. Alright Midoriko, I think you needed a break from physical training. Instead we will focus on your mental training. What do you mean? Midoriko asked as Naruto led her to the edge of the pond, then sat her down. Simple, I want you to sit here and meditate. And this is going to help me how? Simple, you may come up against a demon that won't attack you physically, but mentally, and should that day come you'll need not only a strong body, but a strong mind. Seeing that Naruto hadn't steered her wrong yet, Midoriko closed her eyes, never noticing Naruto moving behind and placing his hand over her head. I'm sorry Midoriko, but you'll never realize your full power unless you do this. In Midoriko's mind, the Maiko find herself sitting in a beautiful field surrounded by a black sky and clouds that didn't move. Where am I? Your mind, of course, where else would we be? A voice said, causing Midoriko's head to whip around, revealing herself with a smirk standing there. Who are you? Midoriko asked. You know you ask foolish questions. The second Midoriko said as she put her hands on her hips. I'm you, at least the real you keep hidden from the outside world. What do you want? For you to listen to me first is the obvious question. What do you think you're doing? What do you mean? What do I mean? I mean taking advice from that demon. Although handsome, he is still a demon, which means he should be our pet, something for us to show off before taking back home. But Naruto isn't like the other demons we were thought to fear. He kills other demons. The second Midoriko closed a distance between herself and her counterpart, then pinned her on the ground while hissing at her. Take him down, then maybe we can have some fun with him, once he's learned his place, of course. What do you mean fun? Midoriko asked. Must I spell it out for you? Hatching on to what her counterpart was saying caused the Maiko to blush as she began to think about the handsome demon in the way that her other side suggested. No, I can't, that type of behavior is unfit for a Maiko such as me. I know that's what makes it exciting, the fact that we shouldn't be doing this, but look around, no one knows where we are, so no would know if we decided to, the second Midoriko said, only to be told no in stern manner by her counterpart. Well, you left me no choice. Midoriko wondered what her counterpart was talking, only to stop when she saw her very own blade above her face. Don't worry, everything will be different when I take over. I leave and let you watch the fun I have with that demon. The second Midoriko said as she brought the sword down, only to be blocked by Midoriko. Kicking her other self off, Midoriko leapt for the blade, only to have it stuck in her left shoulder. I have no idea why you are even a Maiko. It's clear to me and probably the demon that you have feelings for it, and here I am offering you a change to have it, yet you refuse. Because you're not me and it doesn't matter what you say. Midoriko said as she threw her counterpart to ground after wrestling the sword away from her. I guess you win. The only problem is you can't get rid of me because I'm you, I'm what you want. The second Midoriko said as the original Midoriko drove the sword through her heart, then watched as her evil counterpart turned into some type of red energy and went into her. Midoriko opened her eyes, then looked up to find it was dark outside. Looking around, Midoriko attempted to locate Naruto, but instead found what looked to be an injured two-tailed cat demon limping toward her. Alarmed, the Miko jumped up only to feel a hand on her shoulder. Midoriko turned to see Naruto shaking his head before heading toward the small cat demon, which started to back up only to yelp and fall to the ground in pain. This is a great chance for you to differentiate between good and evil. Glancing at the small demon, Midoriko approached it, although slowly before picking it up and examining it to find that it had a hurt leg. Midoriko began to check to see if it was broken only to be interrupted by a large demon jumping out from the trees. "You human, give me back my meal, and I will consider letting you live." Midoriko looked down at the demon in her arms, then back to Naruto, who smiled at her encouragingly. She then turned around and put the cat demon down before drawing her sword, causing the large demon to roar in laughter, only to stop as its head was cut off. Midoriko watched as the demon's now headless body hit the ground before glancing back at her demonic teacher, who was wiping his right hand off, which caused the demon cat, now back in her arms, to meow happily as it brushed against Midoriko's large bust. "Well, that was funny, but I think it's time we rest for the evening. Oh, and make sure to bring our new friend," Naruto said as he headed back to the cave with the Miko following. As Midoriko made her way to her room, Naruto asked her to wait while he unsealed something, then gave it her before explaining that it was something for her to sleep, since she had been wearing her battle clothes to bed, in which the Miko thanked him for. As she put the demon cat down, said demon cat watched as Midoriko went to her room and waited until she opened the door to her room before darting between the legs of the Miko while staying out of her view. Midoriko shut the door to her room, then held up the article of clothing Naruto had given her and found it to be quite thin. Deciding Naruto hadn't done anything lewd or perverted since he'd been teaching her, she chose to give him the benefit of the doubt. Midoriko took off her battle armor, then Miko clothes revealing her naked body, before slipping on the thin fabric which was dark blue in color and came down to her upper thigh. Shocked at how short the piece of clothing was, Midoriko considered taking it off, but decided it felt too nice against her skin. Midoriko made her way to her bed before laying down with a sigh. Midoriko let her mind replay some of the events that happened over the past year and a half, along with how far she'd come, at least according to her demonic sensei. The cat demon crawled out from its hiding place 5 minutes after Midoriko went to sleep and looked around before jumping onto the bed, landing next to the head of the sleeping Miko. The demon snuggled against the side of the Miko's head before resting, only to get back to its feet moments later. The cat demon moved its way under covers, moving over the large mounds of the Miko, causing her to moan softly as it made its way to her well-toned stomach before circling twice and coming to a rest, enjoying the body heat the Miko was giving off. Over the coming months, the training of Midoriko continued, and just as Naruto thought, her power kept increasing almost at an alarming rate. The same could be said for the cat demon, who surprised both Midoriko and Naruto by transforming into a larger version of itself after being enveloped in fire, then ripping a demon who was attacking Midoriko apart. Naruto quickly complimented the demon cat on its disguise before suggesting to Midoriko that she allow the demon cat to accompany her when her training was finished, that way she wouldn't have to use all of her power, something she agreed to, though only after a face licking from the demon cat. As the end of the year approached, Naruto decided it was time for Midoriko to take her second test, so he led her and her new partner to an open field before turning to them. "Alright you two, it's time to test your strength, and the best way for me to do this is to fight you myself." Naruto watched as the cat demon transformed to its true form, then commanded the two to attack, which they did. As they attacked, Naruto could already tell what the last part of training would be for Midoriko and her partner. Naruto easily dodged their attacks, frustrating both of them, causing the two to make mistakes, which left them open for Naruto to take advantage of. Seeing that they wouldn't be able to touch him anytime soon, Naruto stopped the fight and explained to them the final part of training would be teamwork for both them, along with agility training for Midoriko. Midoriko was disappointed that she wasn't able to touch Naruto, but that was replaced by embarrassment, along with a blush as Naruto hugged her before explaining that once she was agile enough, he might actually have to break a sweat when fighting her, causing Midoriko to hit him in the chest. But that over the final part of Midoriko's training began, and to be honest, it wasn't as bad as the other sessions, except for the fact she was incredibly sore after the first month of training. But Naruto simply explained that she hadn't used those muscles that much. He also told her that it would have been a good idea for her to have listened to him when it came to stretching. That was something she did before every section from then on. Halfway through the third year, Naruto stopped Midoriko's training, explaining to the Miko that there was nothing left for her to learn. Naruto gave her some scrolls he'd made copies of over the years. They included stretching pose and fighting styles he thought she might become comfortable with over time. Midoriko, on the other hand, couldn't believe this day had finally come. She wanted to tell herself that it wouldn't have any effect on her, but inside she knew that was a lie. The demon she would be leaving tomorrow had done more for her than her own parents. Leaving him was something she couldn't even fathom. Naruto noticed the look on the Miko's face, which made him happy that she miss him as much as he was going to miss her, so like any good sensei he decided to tease her about it. "What's with that look, huh, Midoriko, you going to miss me that much?" Midoriko blushed, upset that Naruto was the only being that could make her do that. "Of course I'll miss you, you've taught most of the things that I know, and as a thank you, I would like to teach you the arts of a Miko." "I accept, but are you sure it's not deeper than that?" Naruto asked, joking with the Miko. Midoriko stared at Naruto, unsure of what to do. Had he found out how she really felt about him, or was he just joking with her? "Actually it is." Naruto stopped before looking down at the Miko, whose face was now completely red, reminding Naruto of a certain Hyuga. "What do you mean?" Flashback over. Naruto turned away from the village he was staring at before making his way toward his new destination, while looking at the shard in his hand that made him smile. The shard was a part of Midoriko's soul, which made him happy to be near it. Naruto heard years after Midoriko left him that she died in a great battle with a lot of demons, which also made having the shard he held hard to look at. He knew that had he just let her stay with him like she wanted, she would still be alive today. That was something he still hadn't gotten over, but he was dealing with it. When he heard of what Midoriko did, he decided to leave the jewel with the humans, seeing as it would have been a constant reminder of his failure, but he vowed should the humans make a mistake with the jewel he'd take it, his guilt be damned. Once demons realized they could use the jewel, more of them went after it, forcing the humans to place in the protection of another Miko he heard was named Kikyu. After checking her out, he found she was strong enough to watch after the jewel. With the jewel under the protection of Kikyu and the youngest child of his first student, he retreated back into the shadows until he heard of Kikyu's demise, then the shattering of the jewel, which brought him back to the shard in his hand. It angered him greatly that the humans would let this happen. Naruto knew he wanted to find all of the shards so he could bring Midoriko back to life. The problem was the curse that was said to be upon the jewel. Now Naruto wasn't worried about that, he just wanted an expert, someone who knew the jewel, and who better than the originator of the jewel herself. Naruto smirked as he made his way toward his destination, only to stop when he smelt his first student's eldest son and changed course so that they would cross paths. He also disguised his scent so that he wouldn't be avoided. "I'm sure Midoriko won't mind if I take a small detour." Chapter 2 Meetings. Sesshomaru walked toward his destination where an informant was waiting to tell him about Naraku. However, Sesshomaru felt something coming toward him, something his demon blood was telling him to avoid, though that same blood was telling him that whatever it was he could handle it easily. On the way to see his informant Jaken, his loyal vassal never knew how close he'd come to death many times, most of which involved taunting their newest travel companion, a small human girl named Rin. As they traveled, the group came onto a small opening which wouldn't have been anything eventful, except there was a figure sitting directly in their path. Normally Sesshomaru would be excited that he could release his frustrations out on whatever was in his way. The three came upon the figure, which was revealed to be a man with spiky blonde hair. One look at the man immediately told Sesshomaru something was off, though it actually startled him that he didn't notice this before. While Sesshomaru tried to make sense of what the man was, the ever-arrogant Jaken approached the path blocker before clearing his throat and addressing the man. "You mortal, you're in my lord's way. If you move now, then he might allow you to leave with most of your body intact." Normally Sesshomaru wouldn't care what Jaken did, as he knew he could easily strike down anyone stupid enough to attack the smart-talking green imp. However, this man was something different, he could feel it. This feeling was made even more apparent when demonic power, the likes of which Sesshomaru hadn't felt since his father, started to leak from the man. Jaken continued to talk even as Rin and Aan were pushed to the ground by the incredible power the now obvious demon was letting out. Sesshomaru for his part remained stoic on the outside, but on the inside he was incredibly shocked. He knew as a demon lord when a demon was only giving glimpses into the depths of its power, though the fact that this demon stopped right where his father's strongest was made him ponder just how strong the demon which stood in front of him was. "Jaken, that's enough silence." Sesshomaru barked, quieting servant, allowing Jaken to feel the power as well. "Sesshomaru, you have a ways to go until you catch your father in terms of power. I mean, let's be honest, I've heard stories of how you want no crave Tetsusega, yet you already have a perfectly good sword on your hip." The demon said as he stood up, revealing Sesshomaru was slightly taller than him. "How do you know my name and how do you know of Tetsusega?" "I know a lot, such as Tenseiga wishes to protect you, even though it knows you're ashamed of it." Not wanting to be lectured by some possibly old demon, Sesshomaru used his speed to move in front of the demon, then attempted to cut his head off using a side chop, only to have his hand caught in an iron-like grip. "Took you a while to get here, I almost had time to relieve myself on that tree." Sesshomaru growled in anger, and if he was truthful about it, embarrassment. He wanted to crush the demon in front of him. The problem was Sesshomaru couldn't get his hand out of the grip of the demon. Even thrashing around, Sesshomaru found he still was unable to get away from the demon, holding him. Then without warning, the demon let him go, smirking, causing Sesshomaru's cool stare to hold confusion in it. As Sesshomaru planned his next move, his train of thought was cut off suddenly as he saw his Tensiga in the hands of the demon that was now walking away from him. It's a shame you don't remember me, though I know you're interested, so seek out Myoga and or Totosai, they can tell you who I am. Oh, and I'm taking Tensiga with me, I might have use for it unlike you, but once you've done as I've told you I will return it to you. Until then, kiddo. The demon said before vanishing. Angered he was actually made a fool of, Sesshomaru adjusted his course toward where Myoga would be, which just happened to coincide with wherever his brother was. Rin ran over to Sesshomaru asking him if he was hurt, to which the demon ignored her and set out to find the flea. Naruto smirked as he felt Tensiga telling him to return it to Sesshomaru and that it was nice seeing him again, which Naruto agreed to. He then explained he might need its help with something, but promised by the time Sesshomaru had done everything he told him to do, he'd return it to the dog demon. Naruto quickly picked up his speed as he ran toward the demon slayer village, where he heard Midoriko's mummified corpse was in a cave. Luckily his speed allowed him to make it to the cave in a half an hour. Upon arriving, Naruto moved through the village, taking note of the graves which had been dug. As Naruto came to the end of the village, he noticed a boy with short black hair and a short kimono staring off into space. Naruto was able to tell there was something wrong with the boy other than apparent depression, so he decided to find out what the problem was. Confronting the boy, Naruto was able to tell what was so off about the boy, this being the boy was dead, or at least he should be. The boy noticed Naruto and could tell right away he was a demon. However, he also knew how powerful Naruto really was, since he didn't let his pride get in the way, which is the reason he didn't run, figuring Naruto could easily chase him down. "Hey kid, do you know that you're dead?" Naruto asked, receiving a nod yes. "So how are undead?" "A jewel shard a demon uses to keep me under his control, it also keeps me alive," the boy answered. Naruto looked at the boy and could tell the jewel was located in his back. The wheels in Naruto's brain started turning as he wondered if he should take the jewel shard from the boy. Naruto began not to only to start thinking of how much easier it would be for Midoriko with 2 shards instead of 1, which helped him make his decision. "Hey kid, I'm sorry, but I need that jewel shard from you, though this sword can heal," Naruto said as the boy simply looked at him. "It doesn't matter, I couldn't stop you even if I wanted to," the boy answered with Naruto nodding. "Before we do this, what's your name?" "Haku, and what's yours?" "I guess you can call me Inari." Haku stared at Naruto in shock, giving Naruto the opportunity to pluck the jewel shard from Kahaku's back, killing him. Naruto turned to Tensiga, which agreed and allowed Naruto to bring Kahaku back to life by wielding it. As newly resurrected Kahaku got his wits about him, he remembered what Naruto told him before killing him, which didn't make sense to the boy, as he'd been told Inari was just a myth dreamt up by people who wanted to find good in demons. "Kid, I need you to help me with something in the cave just outside your village," Naruto said, pulling Kahaku along with him. As the two entered the cave, Kahaku gulped. He never did like it in there, but he always put on a brave front for his father and sister. Kahaku always felt the cave was judging him, so he kept close to his demon savior until they got Midoriko and the demon's mummified corpses. Naruto sat down in front of Midoriko's corpse. Even though he was upset this happened to her, Naruto couldn't deny how beautiful she looked even mummified. Naruto gave both jewel shards to Kahaku, then created 10 clones, which scared the hell out of Kahaku. Naruto then created a clone he'd been working on for over 500 years. The clone was blank, nor wasn't in the shape of a man or woman, it was simply white. Naruto directed his clones to form a chain from Midoriko's corpse to the clone. This would allow the Miko's power, which remained in her mummified body, to be transferred to the clone. Once this was finished, Naruto took the jewel shards from Kahaku before using his Miko lessons to separate Midoriko's soul from the shards. As Naruto held Midoriko's soul in his hand, he couldn't help but smile before placing it into the clone, which immediately began to shake violently as it took form. After 5 minutes of shaking, a bright light burst from the clone, enveloping the cave, temporarily blinding Kahaku and Naruto. When it died down, Naruto opened his eyes only to be knocked to the cave floor by a sudden pressure in his chest, which oddly enough was tightly wrapped around him. Kahaku opened his eyes, which weren't in as bad a shape as Naruto's were, because he happened to be standing behind the demon when the light began shining. Looking around, Kahaku was unable to find Naruto until a moan directed his attention to the ground. There Kahaku saw the great Inari moaning in pleasure as a naked black-haired woman rubbed his cheek with one hand while the other found its way into his pants. Blushing, Kahaku watched as Naruto was able to gain control of the woman. He then directed Kahaku to see if there were any clothes in the village which fit Midoriko. Once Kahaku left, Midoriko stood unashamed to show her nude self in front of her demonic teacher and lover. "Naruto, what happened? Where am I?" Midoriko asked while Naruto simply looked at her sadly. "Don't you remember?" Naruto questioned back, to watch his student and lover responded with a no. "Midoriko, in your last battle you were attacked by a great number of demons. You fought for 7 days and nights. Eventually a demon created from a man who desired you locked you in its jaws, seeing that you wouldn't be able to escape you forced your soul, along with the demon's soul out of your body. However in doing so your souls created the Shiken no Tama. As Naruto explained Midoriko he turned her around allowing her to see the corpse of herself and the demon which was wrapped around her. Midoriko looked at herself as flashes of the battle came rushing back to her, along with pictures of a man who asked for her hand in marriage, only to have to fight him off when she told him she was in love with someone else. Soon Midoriko suffered from information overload and fainted into the waiting arms of Naruto, who sighed as he made his way out of the cave. Stepping out of the cave Naruto found Kahaku waving a kimono overhead which Naruto told him to hold on to as the two made their way back to the village. But Sesshomaru. In the time it had taken Naruto to handle his with Midoriko, Sesshomaru had tracked down Inuyasha by leaving Rin and Jaken behind. Sesshomaru scowled at his brother while said brother and his friends had drawn their weapons, further angering Sesshomaru. Inuyasha I'm not in the mood to play with you today. Tell me the whereabouts of your flea friend. Sesshomaru growled which frightened Inuyasha on the inside as he'd rarely seen his brother so angry. And what if I don't feel like telling you where he is? Inuyasha questioned. Inuyasha didn't have to wait long for a response, as the moment the last word left his mouth Sesshomaru was holding him by his throat off the ground. Moroku and Sango moved to attack Sesshomaru, only to have Myoga come out of his hiding place of Kage's hair saving Inuyasha. Noticing the flea Sesshomaru directed his attention to Myoga, who was surprised Sesshomaru wanted to speak with him, as they'd never seen eye to eye. The blonde-haired demon crossed me and took Tensiga from me he said he would return the sword when I sought you out to find out his identity. Sesshomaru said dropping Inuyasha. Understandably Sesshomaru I am unable to draw a conclusion from that description. Myoga answered causing Sesshomaru to mumble something. He was faster than me far faster and his power was greater than my father's far greater. Impossible it can't be the demon I'm thinking of he disappeared years ago however he was the only demon far stronger than your father. What a demon stronger than my old man? Inuyasha said. Have any of you heard of Inari? Myoga asked. There is no such thing as Inari it's something people made up hopefully to find good within demons. Sango said quite bitterly causing the group to look at her except for Sesshomaru who didn't care one bit if the demon slayer liked him. No Sango you're wrong he is real myself and Todesai have met him us two being some of the few that have. The others are Sesshomaru's mother, Inu no Taisho, Midoriko, and Rai Katsuse. Who's Rai Katsuse? Shippo asked. The demon responsible for the death of Sesshomaru and Inuyasha's father as a result of the wounds he inflicted. Anyway the reason your father was so powerful was because Inari was his sensei. Myoga said hoping to get back on track. Humans have referred to Inari as simply God. Some call him the god of patience as he only appears when he believes it's for the good of everyone, others call him the god of war because of his fighting abilities and power, and finally many women call him the god of love as they claim to have been taken by him, spoiling them badly. Whatever you call him he is by far the strongest demon I've ever met Sesshomaru and challenging him would only get you killed. Sesshomaru who had been looking at the sky turned to Myoga who quickly hid behind Kage's neck. Angered there was a demon far more powerful than himself, Sesshomaru walked away from the group with one thought in mind, which was to challenge and fight Inari. Sesshomaru inwardly smirked as he thought about defeating the demon who trained his father, though he wondered why this demon had met his mother and why she'd never mentioned it. The group watched as Sesshomaru disappeared before turning to Myoga who cleared his throat, it's a shame he left before I could tell him about Inari's true form. Myoga why would Inari appear after all this time? Moroku asked. That's exactly what I'm wondering myself Inari has always been a demon that didn't like to interfere in the matters of humanity unless it was too big for them to handle, so I wonder what could force him to come out. Myoga wondered out loud as he jumped off Kage's shoulder. Hey Myoga where do you think you're going? Inuyasha yelled to the flea. Maybe he's going to find Inari you know he's a fox just like me and we foxes have to stick together. Shippo yelled Inuyasha's shoulder. I'm with Sango on this one Inari is just a legend he ain't real and he most certainly did not train my father. Inuyasha replied with Sango agreeing with him. Well something happened with Sesshomaru I mean there aren't many demons that are faster than him are there? Kagem asked. So my uptight brother finally found someone faster than him and wants to whine about it, who cares we got to search for Naraku. Inuyasha said. But Naraku? The half-demon frowned as he felt the connection between himself and Kahaku vanish in an instant, as though there had never been one, thus angering him, as he no longer had any torture, and more important to him, leverage to hold in front of Inuyasha's group, just in case a plan should backfire. However right now that wasn't bothering him what was bothering him happened to be the large demonic aura he felt with Sesshomaru. The other problem he was facing was just as quick as it appeared it was gone, which didn't make sense for something as powerful as he felt to be able to hide its power so easily. Naraku decided to find out what the source of the power was so he could possibly contact it before any of his enemies could. Quickly Naraku summoned Kagura, who began to give him lip, that is until she felt her heart being squeezed, effectively shutting her up. "Listen to me Kagura, you felt that powerful demonic aura." "Yes, I have. I want you to find it and offer it an olive branch, however, even if whatever it is accepts, I want you to gather every single thing you can on it, especially weaknesses. Oh, and should you fail me again Kagura." Naraku squeezed her heart one more agonizing time before dismissing her. As Kagura left, Naraku turned to his right to see Kana and Hakudashi standing, the latter shaking his head at the idea of sending Kagura out to do the mission. Knowing what Hakudashi was thinking, Naraku explained Kagura was perfect as she was the only one who could get close enough to this supposed demon if it didn't want to be on his side since she didn't trust him. Naraku watched as the Sesshomaru appeared to his left. He then instructed them to follow Kagura, but to make sure they stayed out of sight. Naraku, through the eyes of the Sesshomaru, "I can show you using my mirror what exactly that demonic aura came from." Kana then turned her attention to the mirror which was showing the Sesshomaru saw. "Hakudashi, the reason I've called you here is to find out what you're going to do with Kikyo." Naraku glanced at Hakudashi, whose attention was on Kana. Seeing this, Naraku dismissed Kana, though not before telling her that if anything came up about that demonic aura she was to return to him immediately no matter what. Once Kana was gone, Naraku turned back to Hakudashi. "Well, I've been unable to find her. It seems as though she's always one step ahead of me. Hakudashi, I want Kikyo destroyed. She's more dangerous than Inuyasha or anyone in his group. Now go." Naraku's voice boomed through the castle as Hakudashi took his leave. When Naraku felt he was alone again, began to turn his attention toward the few remaining jewel shards, specifically the toughest, which would be Koga's, though he had a thought on how to deal with the wolf demon. With Naruto. 2 hours went by since Midoriko passed out from the information she received, which made Naruto feel awful. Had he known she wouldn't come back well, he would have slowly given her the information. However, he realized what's done is done. Naruto decided to let his Miko rest while he and Kahaku talked about certain things. "Kahaku, what are your plans now that you're alive and free again?" "Actually, Inari-sama, there's this half-demon who has a knack for ruining the lives of everyone he comes in contact with. In fact, he's the one who had control over me before you came along. I plan to destroy him." The Haku stared at the ground sadly as he thought about the pain he'd caused his sister because of this. He still wouldn't be able to face her until he killed Naraku. "That's a shame. I just want to know then before we part ways if you happen to know of anyone that has a lot of jewel shards," Naruto asked, causing Kahaku to look up. "The demon who was controlling me, Naraku does. He almost has all of the shards. If you want them you'll have to kill him, though many have tried, none have succeeded," Kahaku mentioned. Naruto looked at Kahaku before pulling him to his feet and giving him a once-over. Kahaku wanted to move away, but the clawed hand of the demon he was talking to held him in place. "Say kid, since it seems we are going to run into the same demon, why don't you travel with me and my friend?" "You mean Priestess Midoriko?" "Yes, see, I have no doubt Midoriko will be able to sense the jewel shards, however it's always wise to have some intel on a potential opponent." The Haku turned to Naruto with a straight look on his face, though Naruto could tell there was a lot of determination in his eyes. "If I help you, can you promise me that you'll kill Naraku even if you get the jewel beforehand?" Naruto smiled. The kid was actually blackmailing him, though he liked it, as it brought Naruto back to his youth when you used to blackmail the old man by threatening to reveal his pervy book collection unless he let him off without any punishment for his pranks. Naruto held out his hand with a smirk which rivaled his young friend's. "You got a deal." The two continued to talk about random things that didn't have to deal with the jewel shard or Naraku for about 3 more minutes. At this time Midoriko came stumbling out of the house, apparently still having trouble getting used to walking as she found herself in her demonic lover's arms again. Midoriko ignored the suggestion of getting some more rest, stating she wasn't tired anymore while leaning against Naruto. Accepting her answer, the group left the village, while Kahaku apologized for not having anything other than a sleeping kimono which Naruto had put on Midoriko when he got her back to the hut. "So Midoriko, I was hoping you could lead us to the jewel shard since you're a Miko and it's your soul, it should be basically finding yourself," Naruto explained, only to be hit softly over the top of the head. "Of course, in fact I sense two moving quite fast to the south. I'm not sure someone as old as you can catch up to them." Quickly Naruto scooped up Kahaku and tossed him on his back while picking Midoriko up bridal style. Naruto then made his way toward the jewel shards, surprising Midoriko at how fast he was moving, as this was the first time he'd ever held her while running. As Naruto ran, he began to pick up many different scents. One obviously belonged to Sesshomaru, though it was quite a distance off. The second scent he caught was a bunch of wolves which became stronger as he followed Midoriko's directions. The final scent came from someone unknown to him, but whoever it was seemed to move with the wind extremely well. Naruto knew once he caught up to the jewel shards that Sesshomaru along with the unknown scent would be able to catch him, he just hoped that Sesshomaru would better learn to appreciate his sword if he got it back. Midoriko yelled for Naruto to make a quick turn while maintaining the speed he was at, apparently running for the past 15 minutes at the speed he was going caught them up with the jewel shards. Midoriko told Naruto to stop as the jewel shards were in the general area, so Naruto let Kohaku down who wobbled slightly while Naruto headed to a lake where the jewel shards were. Once he was close enough Naruto could tell a jewel shard each were in the legs of a wolf demon who was wearing a sword on his left hip. Naruto noticed there were 2 other wolf demons with a target, though that didn't interest him, he just wanted to know what abilities the jewel shards gave the wolf demon. Deciding he wasn't going to find out by just watching the wolf Naruto jumped from the behind the tree, gaining the attention of his target along with. "Hey, who are you and what do you want?" The wolf demon with a mohawk stated. Naruto looked up. He knew it would be night in a couple of hours, so he decided it would be best not to beat around the bush. "I'm going to need the shards from you. The name's Koga. I'm the leader of the wolf demon tribe and I've sort of become attached to the jewel shards." Koga smirked, unable to feel the aura of the being standing in front of him, surprised a human would actually demand something from a demon like him, though it seemed like that's what was happening, as he was unable to sense any demonic aura on the human in front of him. "Listen, either you give me the jewel shards or I'll have to take them from you while your friends watch. Make a choice." Koga looked at both his travel companions before the 3 burst out laughing. Meanwhile behind the tree Midoriko was becoming quite upset. One, she didn't like the fact Naruto was taking so long. Second, she didn't like the fact Naruto was being laughed at even if he could take the 3 down whenever he chose to. "Okay, I see you are choosing the hard way." Smirking, Naruto slowly began to allow his aura to be felt, causing the 3 laughing wolf demons to stare with fear and shock. "Ginta, Hikaku, this guy is dangerous, it's time to go now." Naruto watched as the 2 now identified as Ginta and Hikaku took off running. Naruto, however, kept his attention focused on Koga, who'd already taken off running at his fastest speed. As Koga tried to get away, he soon found out Naruto was able to run stride for stride with him, which said Fox Demon was doing on Koga's right side. Shocked again by Naruto caused Koga to stop running before watching a small smirk appear on Naruto's face. Koga's instincts flared up telling him to move away from Koga, however found himself unable to go anywhere because of a substantial amount of pain shot from his stomach to the rest of his body. Looking down, Koga found Naruto's knee in his stomach, which forced him to drop to a knee as he wondered why the pain wasn't subsiding. Naruto smiled, proud of himself for remembering where pressure points on a body still were, even after all the years of not having to use the knowledge. Midoriko and Kohaku came out from behind the tress with Midoriko, who was unimpressed as she knew her lover was far stronger than this. Kohaku on the other hand was completely impressed. Had he remembered correctly, Koga was a demon that gave Naraku problems, and Hiranari just put him down easily. As Naruto bent down to take the shards out of Koga's legs, he heard yelling from his right, causing him to stand up and catch the returning Ginta and Hikaku by their feet, mentally chuckling at their attempt to kick him with. Naruto simply tossed the 2 through some trees with enough force to knock them unconscious before looking toward Koga's legs and placing his hand right over the spots where the jewel shards were. Naruto then plunged his fingers into Koga's shins, retrieving the shards. Naruto healed Koga's legs afterwards, though left him temporarily paralyzed, so if he tried to come after them, he'd be behind and at a bad disadvantage without his shards. Naruto tossed the shards to Midoriko, who caught them. The group then turned to leave only 2 into Sesshomaru, who was staring at Naruto. Sesshomaru glanced at Midoriko and Kohaku for a moment before turning his attention back to Naruto, who he noticed was wearing Tenseiga, as though it belonged to him. "I heard that you taught my father." Sesshomaru knew what the flea said was right, he just wanted to hear it from Naruto himself. "I did. Your father was a good student, hard-headed, though had he listened to me about Raikatsusei, I'm sure he would be alive today." "I see, so you know me through my father." Sesshomaru was glad he could put the pieces together about Inari. "Actually, I was there when you were born, that's how I know you. You were a feisty pup, I'll tell you that much. Curious too, also not as mean looking." Sesshomaru stared at Naruto in shock. He had no idea the demon had witnessed his birth, mostly because he didn't think his mother would allow such a thing. As Sesshomaru stood in thought, Naruto took Tenseiga from his side. The pulsating of said sword brought Sesshomaru out of his musing. "Well kiddo, you came for your sword, right? No matter, what you saw earlier was nothing. I can't call upon my true power like this. However, I'll be greater than my father by showing you my true power, and perhaps my true form." Naruto smirked at Sesshomaru, who Naruto could tell was unpleased with the fact the threat of his true power didn't faze the demon. Sesshomaru flashed in front of Naruto, resulting in the blonde demon feigning mock surprising on his face. Sesshomaru aimed his poisoned claws at Naruto, who vanished 10 yards to Sesshomaru's left in hopes of drawing the dog demon away from everyone in the area. Midoriko watched as Naruto continued to move away from Sesshomaru. Worried, the Miko began to make her way toward the 2, only to be stopped by a look from Naruto. Sesshomaru growled. For the first time in a long time he knew he wasn't helpless, but transforming into his true form in order to beat the demon in front of him would be acknowledging the power of his opponent. Sesshomaru again went to attack Naruto with his poison claws, only to be slapped playfully in the back of the head. Unable to believe what just happened, Sesshomaru stood in shock. Neither his mother nor father had ever slapped him like that. Truly enraged, Sesshomaru turned to Naruto, eyes glowing blood red, while his demonic aura increased dramatically, causing Naruto to smile before taking off with Sesshomaru right behind him. 5 minutes of running Naruto stopped. Impressed, Sesshomaru was able to keep up with him while he ran at half speed. Sesshomaru was suddenly surrounded by a pink aura which expanded as he began growing larger. Once the aura dissipated, Naruto stared up at Sesshomaru's true form, which reminded him a lot of his student, only smaller. Naruto flipped out of harm's way as Sesshomaru brought his paw down on the area where Naruto was. "I wonder if you're as powerful as you claim. Why are you missing an arm?" Sesshomaru barked twice, allowing drool to hit the ground, causing Naruto to jump away when he saw how the earth melted when the saliva touched it. Naruto continued to back away as he felt that his body was starting numb as he breathed in the miasma from Sesshomaru's saliva. Luckily for Naruto, he'd faced Sesshomaru's father centuries earlier, so fighting Sesshomaru in this form wouldn't be too hard. As Naruto used his demonic aura to block a Sesshomaru attack, he smiled. What Sesshomaru didn't understand was he'd done this same thing with Inu no Taisho when they first met. Naruto jumped towards Sesshomaru, kicking him in the snout, causing him to roar in anger before catching the falling Naruto under his paw and slamming him under his full weight. Back with Mido, Rico, Haku, Koga, and his 2 vassals. The 5 watched as Sesshomaru barked and roared while chasing what they assumed to be Naruto around, causing Koga to growl. Koga began to regain the feeling in his body he'd never liked dogs, even less since Inuyasha was standing between him and his woman. Now he was confronted by a dog demon who he knew was some relation to the mange mutt. Enraged with Sesshomaru's true form along with his earlier humiliation, Koga began to rise to his feet, only to be touched on the back by Midoriko, paralyzing him again. "Who are you? How are you able to do this?" Koga growled as he stared at Midoriko, who was looking towards Sesshomaru. "Who I am is of no concern to you, demon. Just know if I wish to I could purify you easily." Koga scowled as he lay on the ground helpless at the feet of the obviously powerful Miko. However, there was one thing that bothered him, and since he was unable to go anywhere, he decided it would be best to try to get some info out of her. "I can tell you're a Miko, so you don't like demons, yet you're traveling with a demon." Midoriko simply glanced at Koga, then slowly moved toward the area where Sesshomaru and Naruto were fighting, with Haku following behind her. Haku knew he didn't have to protect Midoriko, as he knew a great deal about her. However, he felt he owed it to Naruto. It saved him without any conditions. Speaking of Naruto, said demon was having the time of his life. Knowing Sesshomaru didn't have the power to kill him, he played with a large dog, acting as though Sesshomaru was close to killing him, only to use his speed to avoid him. Naruto did have to control his anger, as there were times Sesshomaru was able to hit Naruto, which wouldn't have been so bad. The problem was Sesshomaru's demonic aura would slash at him, and with his concentration on not being crushed by Sesshomaru, said demon's power was able to get to him. After 35 minutes of fighting, Naruto had seen everything he needed from Sesshomaru, but every time he tried to ditch the dog demon he was sniffed out. After another 10 minutes of trying to get away from Sesshomaru without hurting him, Naruto only had deep gashes on his body for his trouble. Realizing Sesshomaru wasn't going to let him go anywhere as long as he could still fight, Naruto decided to do the only thing he could do. Naruto faced Sesshomaru, who was still trying to use the miasma from his saliva to paralyze Naruto, only to stop as a great deal of demonic energy was unleashed from Naruto, whose eyes were glowing dark blue. Chapter 3: Power and Respect. Sesshomaru looked up at the great fox now standing in front of him. Sesshomaru whimpered in his demon dog form, his ears flat on his head, barely able to comprehend the power of the being before him. Realizing he looked like a coward, Sesshomaru let out a bark followed by a growl toward the fox. Naruto growled back at Sesshomaru, then brought his paw to his mouth, licking his neon green fur. Turning his attention back to Sesshomaru, who suddenly launched himself at Naruto, swiping him with his claws, only to watch the deep wounds he created across the snout of Naruto immediately close up without letting so much as a drop of blood free. Unable to believe what he just saw, Sesshomaru leapt at Naruto, who didn't make any type of move to get out of the way, allowing Sesshomaru to bite Naruto on the front right leg. With the advantage, Sesshomaru ripped at Naruto's leg in an attempt to take it off. However, the realization soon hit Sesshomaru. Even though he bit down on Naruto as hard as he possibly could, neither his lower nor his upper teeth had pierced the flesh of the green fox. Stunned, Sesshomaru went back to tearing at Naruto's leg, which distracted him from 6 of Naruto's 12 tails hitting his side, sending him skidding 50 feet from his former position. Naruto watched as Sesshomaru struggled to his feet, which surprised the great fox demon, since his tails carry a small amount of his power in them. In fact, the last demon he hit with them was vaporized. Knowing he should end this quickly, Naruto leapt into the air towards Sesshomaru, who moved back to avoid the large fox from landing on top of him as he fell back to earth. Sesshomaru was unable to avoid the blow to his front leg from Naruto's claws, which sent the dog demon down again. Sesshomaru slowly tried to get back to his feet, only to have Naruto put a paw on his back, causing the fox demon's claws to dig into Sesshomaru's back. You know, Sesshomaru, I hoped when you were born you'd take after your father, but I see so much of your mother in you right now. Your mother found out the same thing the same way you are, which is I am not to be taken lightly. Your father knew this, why don't you? Naruto growled at Sesshomaru, who got back to his feet, blood running from the wound on his back. Sesshomaru launched wildly at Naruto, who merely sidestepped him, then hind kicked him, sending him backward, only to have his momentum suddenly stopped by one of Naruto's tail, which extended and wrapped around the weakening dog demon's throat. Sesshomaru was then slammed roughly into the ground with such force he created a small crater. Back with Midoriko and Kahaku. The duo was stunned when they saw Naruto's true form. Midoriko heard stories when she was a child, and during her Miko training, she never expected her lover to be Green Fox. Midoriko knew she should be terrified, though for some odd reason his true form, his power, and the fact he was transformed turned her on. She'd definitely be getting him alone tonight. On the other hand, Kahaku stood in complete fear. He heard of the power of Inari, but to actually be a witness to it was something entirely different. Kahaku began to wonder how Inari kept such a degree of power hidden away. Kahaku actually felt himself becoming more loyal to Inari, as he understood it'd be easy for Inari to rule over demons and humans alike, though he chose to walk among them. Kahaku knew if Inari was anything like Naraku, the world would already be under his control. It was at that point Kahaku decided he would follow Inari to the ends of the earth. As Kahaku watched Inari dominate Sesshomaru, he began to wonder about his sister. Kahaku knew Sango would be weary of Inari the moment she saw him. Demons, which possessed great power, always caused Sango to panic. The unknown was the biggest fear his sister had. He hoped he could explain to Sango how Inari was before they met, otherwise there was a very real chance his sister would die. Midoriko glanced at the young boy Naruto brought with him. She knew he was a demon slayer, so he'd automatically earned points in her book. However, she wasn't going to start throwing her trust around so easily. Midoriko had a feeling, even though she wasn't able to confirm it, there were people trying to take down her fox, something couldn't or wouldn't allow to happen. These thoughts caused Midoriko to turn her focus to the sky in wonder, drawing her attention to what appeared to be a large feather hovering in the sky. Confused as to what Midoriko was looking at, Kahaku followed her gaze to a feather in the sky, which meant only one thing. Kagura. Feeling the shift in Kahaku's demeanor, Midoriko demanded to know what was wrong. Priestess Midoriko, the feather you see in the sky is one of Naraku's minions. Naraku is the one who controlled me before Inari-sama saved me. Kahaku explained. Noticing the sadness in the voice of her travel companion, Midoriko reached to her side to draw a weapon, only to remember she didn't have any. Luckily, Naruto was finished with Sesshomaru, whose eyes were closed, signifying the dog demon was unconscious. Midoriko watched Naruto look around before settling on their location as he transformed back to his human form. Midoriko quickly made her way to Naruto, while using her right hand at her side to signal Kahaku not move. Slowly, Midoriko gave Naruto a hug, allowing her to whisper in the fox demon's ear. Naruto stepped away from Midoriko, then looked up at Kagura, who went to run, only to be hit by something knocking the feather from under, sending her to the ground into the waiting arms of Naruto. Kagura made a move to grab her fan, only to be hit from behind as darkness took over her. Kagura saw the black-haired woman and what appeared to be Kahaku stand beside the blonde fox demon. Even though Kagura was at the mercy of her captives, one thought ran through Kagura's mind: he's strong enough to free me from Naraku. The three looked down at the unconscious Kagura, never noticing the Inuyasha watching from a distance. So she's with this Naraku who possess a good deal of the jewel, right, Kahaku? Naruto asked. Yes, Inari-sama, but even though she is a demon, Naraku forces her to work for him against her will. Kahaku answered. Doesn't matter, she needs to be dealt with, I can take care of her from this range, Naruto. Midoriko suggested, only to be stopped by Naruto. Wait, I have a better idea. Naruto rolled up his sleeve, revealing what looked to be markings. However, this thought was dispelled when Naruto bit his finger, then swiped the finger over his marks, causing a scroll to appear. Smirking at their surprised faces, Naruto opened the scroll. He then started drawing on it. Once he was finished, Naruto did a few hand signs before touching the scroll, and Kagura sealing said demon into said scroll. Where did she go? How did you do that? Midoriko asked. Sealing, I can do it. Naruto explained with a wink toward Midoriko. Well, since that is taken care of, let's go to the nearest town to pick up some clothes and weapons for Midoriko, and you as well if you want any, Kahaku. But that the three left a beaten and broken dog demon behind. But Naraku. Naraku frowned at what he just saw and heard. First, Kagura was put into some scroll which probably protected her from him. Second, and most importantly, the demon he seemed to be on a collision course with happened to be the legendary Inari. Naraku, like everyone else, heard stories about Inari but simply pasted them off to be just stories. Another thing he noticed was Kahaku was with Inari. Naraku felt different a while back but thought nothing of it as he was concerned with destroying Kikyu. However, he now knew it was because of Inari breaking the hold he had over Kahaku, something which angered him, as this was his one big leverage against Inuyasha should things go back for him. As the gears in Naraku's mind started turning, he realized he could use Inari to destroy Inuyasha. All he had to do was let Inuyasha's group know Kahaku was being controlled by an even bigger threat than himself, which of course was Inari. Akudashi, I want you to forget about Kikyu for now. Instead, I want you to go to Inuyasha's group and inform them of Sango's brother now being under the control of Inari. Naraku said with a smirk. Do you really believe Inuyasha will be able to stop what we just felt? Hakudashi asked. Of course not, but I do believe Inari will kill Inuyasha and his group, especially if he was able to deal with Sesshomaru so easily. Hakudashi quickly took off, leaving Naraku to his thoughts. Once Inuyasha's out of the way, I can focus on Kikyu then Inari. If I'm extremely lucky, both groups will take one other out. But Totosai and Myoga. Myoga sat across from Totosai, who was working on a sword. Noticing the sword was nowhere near the quality of what Totosai usually makes caused Myoga to start a conversation they both knew was coming. So why do you think Inari-sama has resurfaced now? Myoga asked, resulting in Totosai halting his work, something he always did when talking about Inari. Who knows, that old fox works in mysterious ways. I'm more worried about Inuyasha's sons. Totosai answered, with Myoga nodding his head sagely. I agree, if either one of them meets up with Inari with their attitudes, they're finished. I don't know about that though, I know the beating he'd give them would be pretty bad. Totosai responded. If they were smart they would do what Inuyasha-sama did. That takes me back, seeing our master ordered around was quite amusing. Totosai mused. I'll always remember it as the first time I had some of the best blood ever. Flashback. Inuyasha-sama, may I ask where we are going? Myoga questioned from his spot on Inuyasha's shoulder. I guess it would only be fair to let you and Totosai decide if you wish to continue. I am going to find Inari and request he train me. Inuyasha explained, ignoring the protests from Myoga and Totosai. But Inuyasha-sama, don't you think your father could train you? I mean, he's actually real. Totosai chuckled, only to shut his mouth the moment Inuyasha's gaze was upon him. First, Inari is real, in fact I know where he is at this moment. Second, my father and I don't get along too well, you two know this. Old fool has the nerve to say he's stronger than Inari and humans should line up to be devoured by us. The group stopped at a mountain which appeared to reach into the clouds. Totosai sighed as he grabbed onto the back of Inuyasha, who began his descent up the mountain the hard way. The reason being he was told to do it no other way, as apparently other demons climbed it using their demonic powers, only to be repelled off the mountain halfway up, which was always painful. As Inuyasha continued his climb, he was forced to deal with Totosai yelling in his ear on 4 different occasions that he was falling or he was losing his grip. After a 12-hour climb, Inuyasha reached the top of the mountain. The first thing he did was toss Totosai to the ground, who mumbled something about no respect. As they let everything soak in, the three noticed how big the mountain was and the fact there was a tower in front of them. This cannot be happening, there is no way we are going to meet the legendary demon Inari. Totosai said as they walked to the front tower. Inuyasha opened the door, which revealed what looked to be a man sitting in the middle of the tower meditating intensely. Totosai and Myoga quickly moved behind Inuyasha as they could feel the depth of the power coming from what they knew was Inari. Excuse me Inari-sama, forgive me for interrupting, but my name is Inuyasha. I am here to receive training from you if you'll have me. Inari's eyes quickly shot open. Damn, I was at my personal best of 15 years of solid meditation. Look kid, I'm flattered really, but why don't you come back in a decade, okay? Please, I don't want to be just another demon, I want to make a difference, you can help me do that. Inari made his way over to the three, then with a smirk used telekinesis to push them out of the tower. He then waved to them as the door shut. Totosai and Myoga quickly began to fuss over Inuyasha, who sat up slowly. So that was Inari? Totosai asked. His power was incredible. Myoga added. And you two wanted to make fun of him. Now I have to find some way to make him train me. Inuyasha said to no one in particular. Is it wise to continue bothering him, my lord? He may not be so nice next time. Myoga pointed out. I don't care, you two felt his power, just think of what he could help me achieve. But sire, how do you expect to get him to train you? Totosai asked. Ignoring the two, Inuyasha made his way to the door before knocking 3 times. When he received no answer, he knocked again, only this time continuously. After 30 minutes or so of knocking, the door flew open, revealing Inari. Only this time, 10 tails swayed erratically behind him. "What do you want?" Inari roared, his voice echoing through the tower. "I'm Inuyasha, I wish to become your student." "I'm not really in the market for a student, besides should your parents be teaching you?" Inari suggested. "I don't agree with my father, I don't want to destroy and force beings to bow down to me just because I have the power to." Inari stared at Inuyasha, he wouldn't say he reminded him of himself. However, what did excite him about the young demon before him was the fire in his eyes. Inari also respected the intelligences of Inuyasha, now he just needed to know how far the dog demon was willing to go to receive training from him. "Well, that's all well and good, but I've heard plenty of sad stories throughout my life. If those are your only reasons, you should just go home," Inari said as he began to shut the door. "I believe humans and demons don't need to enemies. But with the way things are, I can do nothing about it." With his face hidden behind the door, Inari smirked. He'd been waiting for those words from many demons who sought him out. Most, however, simply spout off about how they wanted to destroy all humans or control all other demons. Inuyasha watched as the door was opened to reveal the smiling face of Inari. "I think, kid, I can work with you. So you, your pest, and human friend can come in. Make sure you get some rest, your training will begin tomorrow," Inari said, ignoring sad faces of Totosai and Myoga. Next day, break of dawn. Inuyasha was resting soundly after being unable to fall asleep due to excitement. After he was shown his room, Inari told him they would begin training near midday, so he was given permission to sleep in. Poor Inuyasha had forgotten Inari wasn't just a great demon, he was a fox demon known for his trickery, something Inuyasha was about to figure out the hard way. In Inuyasha's room, Inari stood next to his bed, unable to contain his giggling, which turned into full-blown laughter when he dumped a bucket of water of the sleeping dog demon. Immediately Inuyasha rose up, looking around to see his new teacher yelling and pointing at him to get outside. Quickly the dog demon got dressed before making his way outside. "Alright, listen up, kid, you will run around this tower 100,000 times in 1 hour. If you don't, you're through, and I'll kick you off this mountain," Inari said, causing Inuyasha to smirk as he began his transformation. "Oh, did I forget to mention you have to do this in your current form?" Staring at Inari in shock, Inuyasha began dashing around the tower, which wasn't as big as he'd first thought. Inari simply sat down, watching as the blur he now called his student dashed around the tower. Behind the powerful fox stood Totosai with Myoga on his shoulder. The two were currently whispering about said fox. "Myoga, don't be greedy, besides you said it earlier, Inari-sama may be extremely upset to have his blood sucked," Totosai explained. "I know, but the blood of Inuyasha-sama is so good, just imagine how good Inari-sama's must taste." But that Myoga jumped off Totosai's shoulder, making a direct beeline toward Inari. Once he was in range, Myoga leapt onto Inari's neck, sucking his blood. The moment Myoga tasted Inari's blood, he was sent into a high the likes of which he'd never experienced before. After he had his fill, Myoga fell over with a silly grin on his face, trying to comprehend what just happened to him. While Myoga went for a snack, Totosai went to hopefully get some answers from Inari. "So Inari-sama, I was wondering what I should do with my master is training?" Totosai asked. Inari glanced at him. He could tell this human had a faint level of chakra in him, not enough to do most ninja things. However, Inari knew if he could find out what element Totosai was, he'd be able to teach him how to use it to a small degree. Reaching into his robes, Inari pulled out a piece of paper, then handed it to Totosai. Inari placed his hand on Totosai's shoulder, forcing the human's chakra to the piece of paper. "So you're a fire element, huh?" Naruto thought as glanced at Totosai. "As a matter of fact, there is. I'm going to help you use a power you don't even realize you have." "But Inari-sama, what type of power could I possibly possess? I'm a human." "You'll see." "Good job, Inuyasha, you're already at 550, though it's a shame you're not even halfway there yet." Flashback over. But Inuyasha's group. The six sat next to a lake just outside of a nearby town because Sango needed some quick repairs done to her weapon. The group was currently on their way to a lead on Naraku's whereabouts, and the town happened to be on the way, so Moroku suggested they stock up on supplies, which meant him performing a fake exorcism. "So Inuyasha, this informant has Naraku's exact whereabouts?" Sango asked. "From what I've been told, he knows where Naraku's castle was. I doubt it's still there, but who knows, we may get lucky with both Naraku along with the castle still being there, and we get a chance to ambush Naraku when he least expects it." Inuyasha answered while grabbing Shippo, who was trying to take some of Inuyasha's food. "The more likely scenario is we find clues as to where Naraku is setting up next from the old castle," Moroku explained as he ignored the sit command yelled out by Kagome. "But the most important thing is Kohaku. How do we deal with Naraku without him killing Kohaku or having Naraku use him against us?" Kagome asked. "Maybe we can try to capture Kohaku the next time Naraku we meet him," Shippo suggested while dancing on Inuyasha's back. "Or I could tell you where to find him." Hakudashi said, causing the group to leap to their feet and grab their respective weapons. Hakudashi smirked as he put up his hands in mock surrender, confusing the group. The reason I'm here is to tell you Naraku no longer has Kohaku under his control. Instead he is now under the control of Inari. Upon hearing this, Kurara jumped from the shoulder of Sango, then surprised everyone by transform and growling wickedly at Hakudashi. Sango stepped forward hoping to calm her partner, only to move back as Kurara continued to aggressively move toward Hakudashi. Sango, I suggest you get your pet before I strike it down where it stands. Hakudashi said, drawing his weapon. If you want to find Inari, he's north of your position. But that Hakudashi vanished, leaving the group to contemplate what they just heard along with what they were going to do. Moroku reasoned it was convenient of Hakudashi show up when they were close to a lead on Naraku, which Inuyasha agreed with. Sango immediately suggested they go after and kill Inari, which Kagami agreed with. However, no seemed to take Kurara's feelings into consideration as said demon took off toward the north, ignoring the calls of Sango. Where's she going? Inuyasha asked. She must be going to kill Inari. Kurara has always been closer to Kohaku than me. Sango explained as she took off toward the village with Kagami and Shippo in hot pursuit. Inuyasha, we should follow them. Moroku yelled while looking at the direction the girls went. No, we need to find Naraku. You said it yourself, it could be a trick. For all we know, Kohaku is still under the control of Naraku. But that Inuyasha took off toward the south, Moroku reluctantly following him. But Naruto. Midoriko stepped out of the hut wearing the same outfit she wore before her death, though it had a few moderations. First, her armor was 10 times stronger, thanks to special seals Naruto added. The color of the armor was a dark blue. Second, the fabric her clothes were made of was actually mystical because it was impossible to rip. The color of the clothes were orange, something Naruto felt was very attracting on Midoriko. Third, the mirror-like buckle belt which connected the armor served as a holding place for her current and future weapons. As of this moment, Midoriko's only weapons were a bow and arrow with plenty of extra arrows in the seal. To finish off the outfit, Naruto got Midoriko a pair of ninja sandals. Midoriko's her hair, which reached the top of her butt when free, was now in a high ponytail which revealed her beauty and the jewel on her forehead. Midoriko allowed a smile to come over her face as she looked at herself. Seeing his lover was satisfied with her new clothes, Naruto turned to Kohaku, whose gaze was directed toward the sky. Hey kid, something the matter? Well, Inari-sama, if it's not too much, could we make a small detour to inform my sister that I am longer under the control of Naraku? It's something which has bothered me for a while. Kohaku stated as Midoriko made her way to Naruto's side. Well, Midoriko, I'll leave this decision up to you. We can look for his sister or we search for more jewel shards. Naruto explained while Midoriko glanced over at Kohaku. Alright, we may be able to find some of the shards on the way. Midoriko answered. Thank you, Priestess Midoriko. Already knowing Kohaku's scent, Naruto attempted to track a scent similar to Kohaku's. After 5 minutes of searching, he smelt a scent coming toward them from the south. The group left the village heading south until Naruto stopped, causing Kohaku and Midoriko to stop as well. Naruto, what's the matter? Midoriko asked. No one got the chance to answer as all three were knocked over by a large cat demon, which proceeded to lick every one of their faces, though Midoriko and Kohaku received the bulk of the licking. Once they were let up, Midoriko actually hugged her demon friend, while Kohaku did the same, causing the two to look at each other. Priestess Midoriko, you know Kurara? Kohaku questioned. Of course, she was my partner for many years. She was also my only link to Naruto after we parted ways. How do you know her? She rescued a member of our village years ago, so we offered her to stay with us. Kohaku responded. Does she have a name? I don't remember you ever giving her one, Midoriko. Naruto asked Midoriko, who shook her head. I never had a need to, she was always there so I didn't have to call her. We call her Kurara and she hasn't seemed to disagree. Kohaku explained. After they got the Kurara name part settled, Naruto suggested they continue with their quest to find Sango. The moment she heard this, Kurara jumped in front of Naruto. Kohaku made an attempt to find out what was wrong, however, Kurara continued to try and nudge Naruto in the other direction. Midoriko got down on her knees, then turned Kurara's attention to her, looking deep into the cat demon's eyes. After a couple of moments, Midoriko stood with her hand scratching behind Kurara's ears. She's saying there's trouble coming from the way we're going. Midoriko explained as Kurara mewed softly under her old mistress' touch. How did you know that? Naruto asked. Well, she kept you from trying to go that way. Plus we built a connection about 2 months after she and I parted ways from you. Haku quickly suggested he go confront his sister by himself, everyone's safety. Naruto, however, didn't believe that was a good idea. However, before he could say as much, a large boomerang came right at him. The boomerang knocked down trees which were in front of it, but when it hit Naruto's hand, the momentum of the boomerang was stopped completely. Naruto, not paying attention, missed the sacred arrow following behind the path of the boomerang. Luckily for the fox demon, his lover didn't and was able to catch arrow inches before it Naruto in the shoulder. The group looked toward the path the arrow and boomerang came from to see two girls. One had an extremely short skirt on with a long sleeve top. The second wore a black and pink form-fitting outfit. "Who are you? Why have you attacked us unprovoked?" Naruto yelled to the girls. "You dared to act innocent, demon, when you have my brother under your control." "Brother, so this is Kahaku's sister then?" Naruto thought as he watched Sango charge him. Sango drew her sword, slashing at Naruto, who simply leaned back. Sango quickly followed it with another which Naruto blocked with his bare hand, shocking the demon slayer. Sango leapt away from Naruto, who kept his eyes on her until the sound of an arrow passing through the air made him turn to the other girl who'd shot a second arrow. However, Kahaku used his Kusarigama sickle end to destroy the arrow. "Demon, release my brother at once before I am forced to destroy you," Sango warned. "Sister, stop it, Inari-sama saved me from Naraku. He was going to help me find you so I could tell you this, but here you are attacking him for no reason." "Kahaku, I'm sorry, I thought," Sango started only to be interrupted. "You thought because I chose to travel with a demon I was under his control. Kahaku, you're not acting like yourself, and I believe this demon is the reason why. For your safety he must be destroyed." "Sango, wait, listen to your brother. This demon hasn't even made an aggressive move toward us." Kagome yelled toward Sango. "Kagome, the demon is fooling you as well. I guess I have no choice but to do this myself." Sango charged Naruto, her sword drawn ready to end the demon and get her brother back to the way he used to be when they were in their village together. As Sango reached Naruto, she was kicked in the side, sending her to the ground. Enraged, Sango got back to her feet to see Kahaku standing between her and Naruto. "How dare you, demon, force my own flesh and blood to attack me now? Your death will be twice as painful," Sango yelled. Sick of this, Naruto used his speed to appear in front of Sango before she could make a move, stunning the female demon slayer. Sango stared into the eyes of the demon, who simply looked at her with what she felt was pity. Enraged further, Sango leapt at Naruto. Sango kept her eyes on Naruto, who seemed to vanish only to reappear behind Sango and with a quick chop to the neck, put Sango in dreamland. Annoyed at what happened, Naruto turned to the second girl who was loading another arrow. When she looked up to fire it, her demon target was gone. Looking around, she felt a presence behind before darkness ruled her world. Naruto looked back at Midoriko, who gave him a look, wondering what he was going to do. Glancing at Kahaku, Naruto noticed he was stroking the side of his sleeping sister's face while shaking his head. "Okay, Kahaku, grab your sister, I'll take care of this one. Oh, and you can come out now, I know you're hiding," Naruto said, causing Kahaku to glance around. The moment those words left Naruto's mouth, he was shocked to find a small fox child bowing in front of him, the boy's face completely in the dirt. Midoriko peeked over the shoulder over Naruto to see what he'd been talking to. When she did, she found the cutest little fox boy bowing before Naruto. Now Midoriko was a calm, collected woman who'd seen many cute things and been able to hold herself back, however, confronted with the small demon fox in front of her was too much for her to ignore. With speed that made Naruto almost blink, Midoriko pushed past him, scooping the fox in her arms. Smirking, Naruto decided it would be best to head east. As Kahaku previously explained to Naruto, Naraku never stayed in one place longer than a month. The group made its way eastward, although Naruto had to pry the small fox demon away from the grip and bust of Midoriko before they left. "So, small fox child, what is your name?" Midoriko asked as said child in Kurara, in kitten form, hitched a ride on her shoulders. "I'm Shippo. Are you going to hurt Sango and Kagome?" "No, despite what your friend wants to believe, I'm not evil nor is Kahaku anymore. I was able to save his life, no longer does he have a need for any jewel shard," Naruto answered while adjusting the unconscious Kagome on his shoulder. "So are you really Inari?" "Yes, I am." "Then prove it." With a sigh, Naruto allowed his 12 tails and fox ears to become visible to Shippo, gasped in awe. "Can you teach me how to be as powerful as you, Inari-sama?" "Maybe when you're older," Naruto answered while Midoriko simply giggled at the two fox demons. At Naraku's castle. "Damn, we just missed him," Inuyasha said, only to move his head to his left, barely avoiding a scared arrow. Looking up, they saw Kikyu stand in front of them loading another arrow. "Inuyasha, why is Kikyu attacking us?" "I don't know." "Kikyu, stop, it's me," Inuyasha yelled to Kikyu, who approached them with an arrow still trained on the both of them. As Kikyu moved closer to the two and got a better look at them as she lowered her weapon. Apparently Naraku abandoned the castle a week or two ago, however, this time he left illusions which fooled Kikyu as she'd gotten to the castle almost a day ahead of Inuyasha. "Kikyu, are you hurt?" Inuyasha asked the Miko. "Do not fuss, I am unharmed. I have searched the castle and found nothing besides discarded demon parts." "So Kikyu-sama, where do you believe Naraku will show up next?" Moroku asked as Kikyu turned north. "Naraku's new powers are extremely worrisome. I believe Naraku is headed toward Mount Hakure." "That's impossible, a demon as evil as Naraku would surely be unable to go anywhere near Mount Hakure." Moroku said as Kikyu began to walk away. Kikyu, wait, if Naraku is going to Mount Hakure, then we're going there as well. So I was thinking maybe you could travel with us. Inuyasha pleaded. Instead of answering, Kikyu continued to walk away from the two until she disappeared in a rising fog, leaving Inuyasha heartbroken again. Consoling his friend the best he could, Moroku suggested they get back to the village to meet up with the girls and Shippo. As the two made their way back to the village, Moroku began to think about Naraku, Inari, and Mount Hakure. Kikyu had to be wrong, Naraku and Mount Hakure, as there was simply no logical explanation as to how Naraku could be anywhere near Mount Hakure. The bulk of his thoughts centered on Inari. He actually believed the demon was a good being, as too many stories were too similar for him not to be. This of course led him to the problem of Sango. He just didn't understand her dislike for the demon. All he knew was if she faced him with an attitude she may be punished. Luckily, Moroku and Inuyasha were both quite fast, and the village hadn't been that far away from location of the castle. So it wasn't a surprise to either of them. They were able to make it back to the village with 20 minutes of leaving the castle site. On their arrival, Inuyasha attempted to track the girls down in the village by their scent, only to discover they weren't in the village. The pair asked around, but learned the two hadn't come since they ran into the village to get Sango's weapon. With this information, Inuyasha took off following the girls' scent, which became stronger the further north they went. 10 minutes after they left the village, they came to a man-made clearing which both recognized was made by Sango's Hirokatsu. Inuyasha, can you pick up their scents? Moroku asked as Inuyasha attempted to do just that. No, the scents start east then just disappear. Then east is where we have to start looking. But Naraku. So Inuyasha and the monk are going to hunt down Inari. This is becoming more interesting with every move. Hakudashi continued to have the Samyasho follow the monk and Inuyasha. Naraku explained. What about Inari? Have them fall off from him. I noticed he glanced in their direction a couple of times, so I'm sure he knows something is following him. Then why hasn't he done anything about it? I'm not sure. He may know they can't harm anyone in his group, or the distance they've kept is enough to show they aren't threatening. Remember, he is a fox, so this might be a part of some trickery. Naraku knew he had to stall all of his pursuers with Kikyu realizing his plan to use Mount Hakure. Forcing him to use his idea of resurrecting the band of 7 earlier than he wanted. Of course he blamed this all on Inari because he was something he was at this time unable to game plan for. However, something good that came out of Inari's arrival was getting rid of his heart and getting Hakudashi out of it. Hakudashi, gather the others, we're heading to Mount Hakure. Naraku said to Hakudashi, who didn't budge. And how exactly are we going to get near Mount Hakure since we'll be purified if we do? Patience, I have a way, so gather so we can go. Chapter 4 Meetings. Sango and Kagome groaned as they slowly opened their eyes. Upon regaining their senses, the memories of what happened before they were put to sleep came rushing back to them. The two made an attempt to stand up only to find their arms and legs were tied. To make matters worse, they'd been disarmed. As they looked around, they noticed Kahaku in a clearing not 10 feet from them, showing Shippo how to use his Kusurigama. Kahaku, Shippo, you're alright. Sango yelled, gaining the attention of the two boys. The two boys made their way over to Sango and Kagome, who pleaded with them to untie them, only to receive no's. Kagome was completely shocked. She could understand the no from Kahaku, as he might have been under the control of Inari. However, the no from Shippo hurt her feelings as she looked at him as a second brother, maybe even a son. Shippo forced himself to ignore the hurt look on Kagome's face, as Inari promised him no harm would come to Sango or Kagome. I can't believe you, Shippo, after everything Kagome and I have done for you. You won't untie us so we can save our lives. Sango said, making Shippo feel even worse. Stop, sister, Shippo has done nothing wrong. Inari-sama isn't going to hurt you. In fact, before you showed up he was going to let me come to you to let you know I was no longer under Naraku's control. Kahaku yelled at Sango. Because you're under his control. Enough, you've changed, sister. Sango stared at Kahaku as though someone just hit her. How could he say she changed when he was the one following a demon around willingly? At that moment Sango vowed she would break whatever control Inari over Kahaku, no matter what she had to do. Kagome looked at Sango, then back to Shippo and Kahaku. Neither one appeared to be acting differently, though she couldn't really speak for Kahaku. Kagome looked back to Shippo, whose eyes had filled with tears at the way the two women in his life thought of him. Kagome started to apologize only to stop when Shippo ran away from them, crying his eyes out. Kahaku glared at the two girls before chasing after the fox demon. As Shippo ran into a forest, looked around for a place where he could just go to be alone. What Shippo ended up finding was a huge green demon. The demon proceeded to grab Shippo around the tail. Feeling as though he'd betrayed his friend, Shippo didn't struggle, instead he simply cried as the demon lifted him toward its mouth. Shippo watched as the demon put him in its mouth, but just as its teeth came down on him, Shippo felt himself on the ground. Through watery eyes Shippo noticed Midoriko picking him up, hugging him close to her heart while stroking his hair. "Oh, what's wrong with my little fox boy?" Midoriko asked, the sight of the boy crying breaking her heart. KKIGUMMMME and SSSSSNNGGGO don't LLL like MMMME anymore. Midoriko sighed as Shippo did his best to wrap his small arms around her. Midoriko saw Kahaku enter the forest, however, as he started to come over Midoriko waved him away. 5 minutes after Kahaku left, Shippo stopped crying, although he never let go of Midoriko. Midoriko did her best to get the whole story of what happened, but Shippo kept saying he didn't want to get either of them in trouble. Midoriko couldn't help but smile at Shippo, even though the two girls just hurt him, he still thought of them. After many promises from Midoriko that neither Sango nor Kagome would get in trouble. Shippo explained what Sango said and how disappointed Kagome was with him after he told her he wouldn't untie her. As Shippo gave his explanation, he kept his head down so he wouldn't face Midoriko. Eventually, said priestess placed her finger on his chin, guiding it upwards so they were looking in each other's eyes. "Shippo, you did nothing wrong. In fact, I only know one other demon that's as strong as you," Midoriko said with a smile. "Who?" "Why, your idol, of course." "Really? In fact, when I look at you I imagine he was just like you when he was a child." Hearing this resulted in a blush from Shippo, causing Midoriko to nuzzle Shippo's face while ignoring the fox demon's attempts to push her away. The two continued to play for a couple more hours until Midoriko thought Naruto would have made his return to their resting spot. As Midoriko and Shippo made their way back to the spot, Midoriko attempted to carry Shippo in her arms like a newborn, which Shippo would have none of. The two continued to play their game until they reached the resting spot. As they returned, the pair found Naruto and Kahaku cooking the fish Naruto left to catch earlier. When the fish was done, Naruto put some off to the side for Kagome and Sango while promising to teach Shippo his method for catching fish. As they started to eat, Naruto said he needed to get Kagome and Sango so they could eat as well, only to receive a nudge from Midoriko. Shippo jumped up from his place on Midoriko's lap before explaining if he wanted to be more like Naruto, he would have to face his problems. So Shippo gave Naruto the okay to get Sango and Kagome. Midoriko looked at Shippo, worried he was attempting to take on responsibilities he didn't need to in order to be more like Naruto. It wasn't until Shippo gave her a wink did she feel slightly better about him facing the two girls. However, Midoriko did place Shippo back in his original spot on her lap, just in case he caught nervous, he'd know she was right there. It didn't help Shippo with the embarrassment factor when Kahaku started laughing at him. Of course, that stopped when Midoriko gave Kahaku a look, resulting in Kahaku finding his fish to be the most interesting thing in the world. When Naruto returned, he had both girls over his shoulders, with Sango the only one complaining while Kagome was surprisingly quiet. Once the fish was divided up, everyone began to eat except Sango and Kagome, who refused to eat unless Kahaku or Shippo fed them. Midoriko immediately said no, however Naruto told her they couldn't just let them starve. As they ate, Midoriko could feel the glares Sango was giving Naruto and decided to call her on it. "What's your problem, little girl?" Midoriko asked. Sango started to answer, but the words froze in her throat as she looked at the woman who asked the question. Kagome noticed the look on Sango's face, so she followed her friend's gaze to the woman she remembered was in the cave just outside the Demon Slayer's village. Sango quickly accused Naruto of bringing Midoriko back to the land of the living to be his slave, to which Midoriko laughed. "You foolish girl, he brought me back to the land of the living because I died before my time, and the most important thing, he loves me," Midoriko answered, stunning everyone except Kurara. "Impossible, he's evil," Sango responded. "Evil is he? Tell me, would someone evil train me, have a special night with me, then tell me I couldn't stay with him because I was destined to help humans?" "Midoriko, what do you mean by a special night?" Shippo asked, causing Naruto and Midoriko to blush. "I'll explain it to you when you're older, Shippo." Sango stared at Naruto in disbelief. She couldn't believe what Midoriko just said. However, Sango was positive Midoriko wasn't under any demonic influence. At that moment, Sango began to understand the mistake she'd made, but to put to bed any lingering doubts about Inari, needed to know for sure. "Kagome, do you see anything demonic about Midoriko?" Sango asked, almost praying Kagome found something. "No, she's clean." "Demon eye. His name is Inari-sama, sister," Kahaku said. "Inari, I'm sorry for accusing you without any proof. My brother and Shippo tried to tell me you weren't evil, and I refused to listen. Shippo, I'm sorry for treating you so badly earlier. Kahaku, I should have listened to you. It's just everything that happened with Naraku, then Hakudashi said you were under Inari's control. I was just tired of my brother being used as a pawn. Shippo, I'm sorry too, I shouldn't have gotten upset with you," Kagome said, slightly jealous of Midoriko. "Don't worry about it. Kahaku has actually been helping me and Midoriko out quite a bit. It's been such a very long time since we've been in the world, we needed someone to guide us," Naruto explained as he untied the two girls. "So where are you heading?" Sango asked while looking at Kahaku. "We are going north." You can't. If you keep going north you'll head directly to Mount Hakure. Inari Samayu, Kurara, and me can't go to Mount Hakure without being purified. Shippo explained. Midoriko chuckled, causing everyone's attention toward her. Especially if she and Naruto were in love, why would she laugh at him being purified? Midoriko-chan, why are you laughing? Shippo asked. I'm sorry Shippo-kun, it's just what you just said was funny. What do you mean funny? Kagome asked. Naruto can't be purified. Sango's mouth dropped while the piece of fish she was eating fell out. Kahaku suddenly had bug eyes and Shippo simply stared over at Naruto, not as surprised since he believed his idol could do anything. Kagome stared at Naruto hoping she could tell if Midoriko could tell the truth. However, Kagome soon noticed something strange about Naruto's demonic aura. Naruto noticed Kagome was staring at him, looked into her eyes. The two having a silent conversation when Kagome realized what was different about Naruto. You used to be human. Kagome blurted out. It's been so long ago I don't even remember what it's like. Why didn't you tell me? Midoriko asked. It just slipped my mind. Midoriko's right though, one time during a training session years ago she hit me with a purification arrow and nothing happened. Not to change the subject, but I was wondering if Kahaku was going with you? Sango asked. You still don't get if Kahaku wanted to leave right now he can. Sango turned to Kahaku, excited about being reunited with no strings attached to her brother. The excitement turned to sorrow as Sango noticed a look in her brother's eyes. Sister, I love you, but for the moment I feel my place is by Inari-sama's side. Kahaku explained, hoping Sango would understand. And my place is beside you. Sango retorted. Sango, what are you saying? Kagome asked. If you let me I wish to travel with you. I don't know, our group seems like it's getting bigger every day. Besides, don't you have friends who might miss you? Naruto reminded. Sango stared at Kagome while her thoughts drifted to Inuyasha and Moroku. Sango cared for her friends. Out of all of them she knew she'd miss Kagome the most. Though from day one she made her goal clear and everyone knew of it. I will miss them, but my place is with my brother. Fine, I'll take the rest of you back to your friends tomorrow. Naruto said. I want to stay as well. Shippo yelled out. Well, he's not going anywhere. No way Midoriko's going to let me get rid of him. Kagome started to say something hoping it would change Shippo's mind, but in the end knew she couldn't. Inari was Shippo's idol. Plus, Shippo developed a quick bond with Midoriko. Kagome knew everything was changing. After tomorrow she'd be separated from 3 of her friends. Look, let's just get some sleep and if you all feel the same way tomorrow then we'll discuss it. Naruto said. But this everyone finished their food before going to bed. Sango moved close to her brother, Kagome moved with Sango, Kurara snuggled with Kahaku, while Midoriko held Shippo with Naruto holding Midoriko. As Naruto lay with Midoriko he glanced over everyone there. If Naruto was honest with himself, he didn't want his group to become too big because it meant more people to worry about. Another problem for Naruto was Sango. He realized she cared for her brother. However, Sango was quick to anger, especially when demons were involved. Naruto also knew there had to be a clear leader. Kahaku realized Naruto was the leader and Midoriko would follow Naruto anywhere. It was easy for Naruto to image Sango fighting him on things she felt would be too dangerous for her brother. Still, Naruto smirked. He'd deal with these problems as they arose, allowing his experience of different situations to handle any problems which would cross his path. Naruto awoke with the break of dawn, his senses allowing him to tell when the shift between night and day began. Sitting up, Naruto stroked Midoriko's hair, causing her to moan while pulling Shippo closer to her face. Naruto quickly downed the leftover fish. Then started his cleanup, which he halted as a familiar scent hit his nose. The scent riding on the winds of the west caused his eyes to turn black before resuming their normal color. The instant they did, Naruto ran westward, determined to find the source of the scent. Using his speed, Naruto ran into a clearing 2 miles from the rest site. As Naruto entered the clearing, he saw a white-haired woman wearing regal robes with fur wrapped around her shoulders, ember eyes, and a moon-shaped crescent on her forehead facing him with her head turned. When she turned completely around, she saw Naruto staring at her the same way he did when they first met. Well, the great Inari, what do I owe this pleasant surprise? The woman asked. Inukimi, you bitch, I should crush your throat. For what, not following your orders when it came to my child? I am Inukimi, maid of Inuyasha. I do what I want when I want. Naruto roared as he again used his speed, this time to cover the distance between himself and Inukimi. Naruto grabbed her by the throat. The two still moving until Inukimi's body hit a tree which splintered upon impact. Inukimi grabbed at Naruto's hand, hoping her poison claws would force him to let her go. This would have been a good idea if her claws could pierce his skin. Don't forget who taught your maid every single thing he knew, little girl. The only reason you're still alive is because my student loved you. However, he would be disappointed with the way you raised Sesshomaru. Inukimi, taking all this abuse, decided to defend herself. I raised my son to be like his. Fat Inukimi was stopped mid-sentence when Naruto increased the pressure on her neck. Finish that sentence and you'll be joining my student in the afterlife. Tell me why you didn't raise him, really it's not like I could have stopped you. Better why didn't you raise Sesshomaru's half-breed brother? I always found that amusing about you Inukimi even when facing death you're disrespectful to the end. You're not going to kill me if you were you'd have done it centuries ago. But this Inukimi began to laugh albeit strained while still gripping at Naruto's arm. Tired of the constant attitude he received from Inukimi. Naruto knocked her out just as he did with Sango and Kagome before tossing Inukimi over his shoulder. As Naruto made his way back to the rest side a smile crossed his face, it seemed as though he would get to meet his student's youngest child all grown up. At the rest site. Midoriko awoke feeling slightly cold. She soon realized the reason for this was Naruto wasn't holding her. As she sat up Midoriko she noticed Shippo twitching slightly in his sleep which she found cute. Looking around Midoriko noticed the fish was gone, causing her to shake her head at Naruto and his antics. Once Midoriko woke everyone up she told them to gather their things. Before asking anyone who made a decision last night if they changed their mind. Sango and Shippo both expressed their interest in staying again. The latter of the two Midoriko was ecstatic about. As they gathered their things, Midoriko sensed a second demonic aura much larger than Shippo's heading toward them. However, there was something odd about the aura. Turning toward the direction the aura was coming from Midoriko watched a half-demon and what she figured to be a monk jump out of the forest. "Moroku, Inuyasha you're here." Kagome said as Midoriko stared at the two new arrivals. "What the heck are Inuyasha?" started only to stop as Moroku directed his attention to Midoriko. "Excuse me, but might I ask who you are?" Moroku questioned. "Isn't it obvious?" Midoriko responded still getting used to waking up. "You're the bitch in the stalagmite that threw me out of that cave." As Inuyasha finished his statement a sword flew by his head cutting his cheek while taking some hair with it. Inuyasha looked at the sword embedded in the tree behind him, then turned around to see Midoriko had an arrow lined up with his head. Having been challenged in battle Inuyasha drew Tetsuseiga to get a little bit of payback on Midoriko. Midoriko ducked a swing of Tetsuseiga, then created some distance. With distance she fired an arrow at Inuyasha's feet, causing the ground to explode. As Inuyasha hit the ground he watched Midoriko swipe her hand over the mirror on her belt, resulting in an axe appearing which she attacked Inuyasha with. Midoriko used her spiritual powers to surround and strengthen her axe, allowing her to weaken the demonically powered Tetsuseiga with every strike. Inuyasha knocked Midoriko to the ground only to have his feet kicked out from under him. Allowing Midoriko to get back to her feet and free her sword from the tree. Inuyasha growled as Midoriko came at him with her two weapons. The biggest reason Inuyasha was upset was Midoriko's spiritual power kept cancelling out Tetsuseiga's transformation. Eventually, Inuyasha was forced to use his blades of blood and iron reverse soul stealer. Though neither of these attacks worked because of the control Midoriko had over her spiritual powers. Midoriko would simply create a bubble of spiritual energy around herself to deflect Inuyasha's demonic attacks. Frustrated he couldn't use any of Tetsuseiga's attacks because Midoriko didn't possess a demonic aura. With nowhere else to turn Inuyasha attacked wildly with his claws which didn't help him as Midoriko defeated him without the use of Tetsuseiga. "I don't know why you attacked me, but I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to let him deal with you," Midoriko said to Inuyasha as Naruto came into the clearing. "Who is that, some weak demon?" Inuyasha asked. "You recognize her, kiddo?" Naruto asked directing Inuyasha's attention to the woman on his shoulder. "Inuyasha, who is she?" Moroku asked. "Inukimi, she's my stepmother." Everyone stared at the unconscious woman except Midoriko. She was smiling at the look on Naruto's face as he dropped Inukimi to the ground roughly. Naruto ignoring Midoriko made his way over to Inuyasha who stood up. "So I'm some weak demon am I? If you think of me like that maybe I shouldn't have saved you from those demons when you were younger," Naruto said as Inuyasha's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about, old man? You never saved me." "Sure I did, remember you were being chased through the forest by a pack of demons. You hid under the ledge of a cliff. Tell me how long you waited to come up." Inuyasha thought back to the night in question. Inuyasha remembered every part of the night the demon in front of him spoke of. However, one thing always stuck out to him about that night. He never climbed back up to the top. He eventually cried himself to sleep and when he woke up he was against one of the trees in the forest. Inuyasha stared at the demon in front of in shock. "Sorry it took me so long to help you out. I was distracted by this, shall we say, woman," Naruto explained as he kicked Inukimi on the side. "Wait, you're saying you saved Inuyasha when he was a child?" Moroku slightly questioned. "Of course, you know his father was my student. From what I've seen both his sons remind me of him in same way. But that's a story for another time. We need to get moving to Mount Hakure. I'm staying with my brother. Just as I said I would last night." Sango blurted out, surprising Inuyasha and more importantly Moroku. "If Sango's staying, I'm staying as well," Moroku said, causing Naruto to cough. This is what I was concerned about the moment Sango said she wanted to travel with our group. Shippo and Karara coming with us isn't a big deal. Midoriko can watch over Shippo and Kahaku can keep him company. However, there might come a time where a decision is made you don't agree with and I can't have you disrupting the foundations of this group. Naruto explained. Are you trying to keep me and my brother apart? Sango asked. I'm saying I don't want too many people in my group. Before today there were 3, now there are 7, that's too much. Sango quickly bargained with Naruto. She offered that only she joins his group along with Shippo and Karara. Moroku jumped in, restating his case that he would join if Sango did. Kagome then suggested that they join groups, which Naruto quickly shot down again. Sango turned to Moroku, telling him when she first joined the group. She made sure they all knew her goal was going after Naraku for killing her brother. She later added freeing Kahaku to that list, but now that he was free, she just needed to kill Naraku. Naruto sighed, then laid the law down in terms of who could join. He would allow Sango to join and no one else. Sango apologized to Moroku if this hurt him. She then made her way to Kagome, giving the only other female in her former group a hug. Sango gave a nod of respect to Inuyasha before moving to stand with her brother. Shippo also gave Kagome a hug before sticking his tongue out at Inuyasha. Naruto looked over the group in semi-acceptance. He was still irked about the problems Sango could potentially cause, but he would ignore it. Naruto nodded to Inuyasha's group before grabbing Inukimi's foot, dragging the female dog demon as he walked toward the direction of Mount Hakure. Midoriko confused as to why Naruto had so many problems with a woman who was currently getting drugged through mud. Naruto explained to Midoriko that she was the mate of his first student. Surprising Midoriko as she had no idea Naruto had a student before her. As they walked, Naruto could sense Inuyasha's group following them. When he confronted them, they explained they were going after Naraku and they were already on the path, so it made no sense to go a different way. Eventually, Naruto relented, allowing them to travel with them until they reached Mount Hakure. Naruto told them, however, that no matter what happened after Mount Hakure they would not be traveling together. As Naruto addressed Inuyasha's group, Inukimi opened her eyes. Sitting up, she looked around, noticing humans and, in her opinion, weak-level demons. Her eyes would soon fall on 2 people that made her blood boil. The first obviously being Naruto. The very thought of him made her want to bring her lover back to life and rip his throat out. The second being Inuyasha, as he was the constant reminder of her lover's infidelity in her mind. The world wasn't big enough for the 2 of them. As Inukimi stood up, she noticed dirt and mud on her beautiful clothing. However, what almost made her almost transform was the fact she could feel dirt in her hair. Angry, though still rational enough to understand she couldn't take down Naruto, Inukimi launched herself at Inuyasha, hoping to take her anger out on the poor half-demon that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. With incredible speed to everyone except Naruto and to a certain extent Midoriko, Inukimi slammed Inuyasha into a tree. Inukimi made a move to rip out her stepson's throat, only to be stopped by what seemed to be the bane of her existence. The female dog demon had known Naruto long enough to know when he was playing or not. She could tell had she moved her hand any closer to Inuyasha, she'd be ashed before the half-demon was hurt in any way. I hate you. Inukimi said as she turned to Naruto, who smirked at her. Payback. If it wasn't for you, Inuyasha would never have challenged Ryokatsuse. I told him that I would deal with Ryokatsuse or to wait until I finished the training we'd started. But you had to get in his head all because of your jealousy. Naruto said, resulting in a howl of anger from Inukimi. Don't you dare speak of that. Don't tell me what to speak, puppy. I'll tell everyone here the whole story. Inukimi opened her mouth to say something only to get a look from Naruto telling her to test him. Inukimi started to leave only to be grabbed on the shoulder by Naruto. The fox demon told Inukimi that if she left his lips might get a little loose. Naruto then instructed Inukimi that she would be traveling with him until he'd had enough of presences. Again Inukimi wanted to argue only to be stopped in her tracks. But the growl Inukimi started to walk only to be stopped again by Naruto, who explained she'd never been punished for trying to kill Inuyasha when he was a child. Inukimi immediately yelled she would never apologize for doing what needed to be done. Naruto allowed a large smile to spread over his face and surprising agreed with her. However, an apology to Inuyasha seemed like heaven compared to what Naruto did next. Naruto would take out a long rope, then tie it loosely around Inukimi's neck. Naruto then told her to walk. Inukimi, stunned that someone would actually do this to her, began to move as though she'd been hypnotized. Inuyasha, like his stepmother, couldn't believe what was happening. Ryoga told him stories of how Inukimi could stand up to his father in power. Thus making Inuyasha extremely wary of Naruto. To completely own Inukimi like this meant his power must be unbelievable. Midoriko, interested in why Naruto was doing this, decided to get some answers. Naruto, what's going on? Naruto gave Midoriko a small smile before pulling her into him and giving her a long kiss. When the kiss was over, Midoriko sighed, then leaned against Naruto. I don't mind telling stories while we walk. "Hey kiddo, if you want to hear a story about your old man you'd been moved closer. I'll let you all know why I dislike the pathetic demon in front of me so much." Flashback. Naruto sat outside of a hut yawning and eating Pocky. He remembered Itachi used to give him some wherever he'd take him to the third Hokage. The two would always munch on separate pieces together before going to see the old man. Naruto could feel multiple presences leave the hut. Using his speed, Naruto easily made his way in the hut to see a beautiful pregnant woman with long black hair looking at the floor sadly. However, when she looked up, her sadness disappeared as her lover's teacher was standing in front of her. The first time she saw him, he appeared to her as a fox kid. Of course, her believed that he was a normal fox, and his cuteness caused her to snuggle him against her breasts. When he eventually transformed, he told her she had nothing to be ashamed of, with a wink added. Her beloved Inuyasha would explain who he was. The urge to slap him was quickly replaced with a bow. To her he was odd, but Inuyasha thought the world of him. In fact, when she and Inuyasha were alone, he told her he looked at Inari as his father. "Inari-sama, how are you? Please forgive me for not bowing," the woman said. "I never wanted you to bow to me in the first place, Izoi. Now how is that kid coming along?" Naruto questioned. "It's good, very active. Actually, Inuyasha told me you could tell me the gender. He told me you told him the gender of his first child. He told me he doesn't want to know the gender of this one. That's why I'm here. All I need to do is touch your stomach and I'll be able to tell you." Naruto touched Izoi's stomach, then after 5 minutes he took his hand away from her stomach. He then told her she was going to have a boy, her very own Inuyasha running around getting into trouble just like his father. Izoi smiled shyly, then asked Naruto if he would look out for her son. Naruto gave her a nod, then suggested that he give her a gift through Inuyasha. Naruto gave Izoi a pat on the head, resulting in a blush from the princess before leaving. Naruto quickly made his way out of the village toward the western lands. With his speed he arrived 15 minutes after he left Izoi. Upon arrival at Inuyasha's home, Naruto walked in to see his students surrounded by the demons who lived on his land. With a shout of "Sensei," the demons knew it was time to leave. "I didn't think you would make it, Sensei," Inuyasha said, only to receive a slap on the head from Naruto. "Baka, did I not tell you I would be here? When have you ever known me to go back on my word?" Naruto questioned hotly. "Never, Sensei." "That's right, now why am I here?" "A couple of things, Sensei. First, I believe Sesshomaru is prepared to face you in order to test his powers. Second, my subjects were just telling me how concerned they were with Ryokatsuse. I've been trying to decide whether or not I should deal with him. Good thing I got here in time to help you out. You won't be facing Ryokatsuse." "But Sensei, I'm ready, I've worked on everything you've showed me." "Look, you may be an important demon now, but I am still your teacher. The demon who knows your skills better than you do, and I just don't think you're ready yet." Inuyasha was about to give in when he heard a voice from behind him. "I think he's ready, and as one of the demons who lives in this lands. I believe Ryokatsuse should be taken care of as soon as possible." Inuyasha turned around to see Inukimi standing behind his throne. Inukimi nodded to Inuyasha, who smiled at her in return. His mate had been extremely sore at him when she found out about Izoi. However, now it seemed like she was prepared to stand by his side when he would need it her most. "You see, Sensei, Inukimi thinks I'm Rei." Inuyasha noticed his sensei's eyes flash gold, then he had both himself and Inukimi pinned against the closest wall by their necks. "First, don't you ever contradict me again, you, or I'll cover the world with your ashes. Second, I don't feel comfortable about you facing Ryokatsuse, so you won't. This is my decree as your sensei. Disobey it at your own peril." Naruto walked off to find Sesshomaru while Inuyasha roared in anger. The dog demon couldn't believe that his sensei didn't have faith in him, the one demon above all the rest who he took on as a student. Inukimi watched as thousands of thoughts ran through her mate's head. She had lived long enough to read any demon with the exception of Naruto. Right now her readings told her that Inuyasha wanted to prove to his teacher, the demon he idolized, that he was worthy of his attention. "Do not pout, my love. Simply go out and destroy Ryokatsuse, then your master will see that he has made a mistake." Inukimi cooed. "You want me to disrespect my master?" Inuyasha roared. "No, I want you to show him that you are a more capable demon than he gives you credit for. Tell me, do you wish to bring a child into a world where Ryokatsuse roams? He might destroy the child just as a warning to you. But I've never gone against Sensei before. When we explain it to him, he will understand. You are protecting your land, your pride, and most importantly you are protecting your family." Inuyasha stormed out of the throne room. He then made his way to his armory and grabbed Tetsusega. However, as he grabbed Tenseiga, the sword refused to move from the wall it was on. Inuyasha paused for a moment as he looked at Tenseiga and wondered if the sword was trying to tell him to listen to his sensei. Still pumped up from Inukimi's speech, Inuyasha overpowered Tenseiga before leaving the castle, his mate smiling in the background as she watched him off. Meanwhile, Naruto entered the courtyard to find Sesshomaru waiting for him. The moment he saw the boy, Naruto growled this was not what he'd envisioned for the first child of his student. "I see you've grown young puppy, but what makes you think you're prepared to take me on?" Naruto said. "When father was actually paying attention to me before he left mother to be with that human, he trained me to face you in combat, he told me it would be the most defining moment in my life. However, all I see before me is an old demon who would be lucky to lay a finger on me." "Do you want me to kill you?" Naruto asked with a chuckle. As Naruto prepared to test Sesshomaru, he felt something he'd been dreading since he heard of Ryokatsuse, that being his student fighting him. Turning around, Naruto began to make his way to where Ryokatsuse was before he could hurt Inuyasha. However, the moment he turned he felt Sesshomaru move toward him. Already enraged, his student didn't listen to him, turned around and punched Sesshomaru in the jaw with such force, he was actually afraid he'd broken the boy's neck. Realizing he couldn't leave Sesshomaru in the condition he was in, Naruto healed him with his power, while making sure Sesshomaru didn't remember anything about this. Naruto quickly left Sesshomaru laying before heading out the courtyard. When he arrived in the throne room, he noticed Inukimi sitting on Inuyasha's throne. Naruto, figuring Inukimi had something to do with Inuyasha disobeying him, formed a Rasengan and hit Inukimi on the midsection with it. It had been centuries since he last used the jutsu, but it just seemed to be fitting. Naruto ignored Inukimi's smoking midsection and now topless appearance in favor of chasing after Inuyasha. When he arrived at the battle, he noticed the two large creatures clawing and biting each other. From where Naruto could see, Inuyasha was definitely getting the worst of the encounter, though Ryokatsuse was far from fresh. Naruto was tempted to transform, kill Ryokatsuse, then step on Inuyasha until he begged for mercy, but he chose not to. His instincts as a teacher nearly kicked in a couple of times as his student was knocked to the ground several times. Each time it appeared harder for him to get back up. As Naruto continued to watch the battle, his anger rose. Naruto knew there was no possible way for Inuyasha to stop Ryokatsuse unless he used a sealing technique he taught him 100 years ago. Naruto watched Inuyasha hit the ground for a 10th time, however, he wasn't getting back up. Naruto expected this to be the end of his student until Ryokatsuse did something which angered him to no end about villains. That's right, Ryokatsuse began to monologue about what Inuyasha's death was going to be like and how he proved him with nice entertainment. This of course allowed Inuyasha to regain enough strength to pierce Ryokatsuse's heart with his claw. Naruto watched as Ryokatsuse fell back against a rock formation. At first glance, Naruto didn't think Inuyasha had pierced Ryokatsuse's heart. However, upon a closer look, Naruto realized Inuyasha just barely got enough of Ryokatsuse's heart to seal him. Normally you'd have to get almost the middle of the heart, however, with Ryokatsuse so exhausted from fighting, he was weak enough for the claw to keep him sealed. Inuyasha immediately laid down, still in his true form. He began to wonder how he was going to explain his wounds to his sensei. With as injured as he was, there was no way he could stand up to his teacher, not to say he could if he wasn't injured, but at least then he could take the punishment he'd be sure to receive. Looking around, Inuyasha saw the one person he feared in the entire world looking up at him. Not wanting to seem like he was lording over his sensei, Inuyasha transformed back to his human-like form. Inuyasha stumbled toward his teacher, who simply stared at him. The two were no more than 2 feet away from one another. Inuyasha took another step only to have his legs give out on him, causing him to fall. This wasn't something new to Inuyasha, as he'd been tired after finishing training with his teacher thousands of times. However, those times when he fell, his sensei would catch him. This time his sensei stepped to his left, allowing his student to hit the ground face first. "I told you, you weren't ready. You just became powerful enough to defeat that panther demon," Naruto said, not enough looking at his student as he addressed him. "But sensei, I'd die." Inuyasha started only to be grabbed by the neck and lifted off the ground. "You did nothing. If Ryokatsuse didn't like to hear himself talk, you'd be dead already." Naruto threw Inuyasha to the ground, his anger at a level it hadn't been at in years. "Go home, get your wounds treated. What about Izayoi and the child? As punishment for disobeying me, you will not be permitted to see the birth of your child. I will bring Izayoi and the child to you after the birth has taken place." Inuyasha roared in anger at his sensei, who simply vanished in a swirl of fire. Inuyasha willed himself to his feet. He knew he'd brought this on himself, however this was a punishment from his sensei he would not accept. Inuyasha knew that disobeying his sensei a second time could result in a painful death, but it was worth to see his child and Izayoi. Inuyasha took off, needing to see his eldest son first. Flashback over. "Did you teach me any of the same things you taught Inuyasha?" Midoriko asked. "Of course he didn't. My old man was a demon, there is no way you could do any of the same things he could," Inuyasha said, earning him a glare from Midoriko. "Every student is different, Midoriko. For you to be powerful, I had to teach you certain things," Naruto answered, attempting to defuse the situation between his lover and his first student son. The group was still stunned at the story, while Inukimi scoffed. Inuyasha began wondering why his mother had never mentioned Inari to him. Seeing his story had taken a good deal of time up, Naruto asked Kohaku where they were. Kohaku told him they were about halfway to the Mount Hakure. Naruto noticed Inuyasha was still in deep thought, decided this would be a good a time as any to get some information about the kid. Naruto told everyone to continue moving north except Inuyasha and Inukimi, who was still on her leash. "Inuyasha, I want to hear from you on your life when you were a child," Naruto demanded from the young half-demon. Normally Inuyasha would tell anyone wanting to know about his life to mind their own business. However, he was now a firm believer that this was the demon who trained his father. Even with his father's fang angering Naruto wouldn't be wise. "I was alone, not much else you need to know," Inuyasha answered. "What happened to your mother?" "None of your business, you old relic." "Inuyasha, if you're going to get over this you need to talk about your mother." "What do you want me to say?" "She was sad all the time because of me and then those demons chased me. Mother tried to protect me but her." Inukimi giggled only to stop when Naruto hit her on the head. "She was attacked by those demons that knocked her off a cliff while I just hid in the bushes like a coward. Too scared to help my own mother." "So that's what happened to her. I hope he doesn't do something crazy like attack me when he finds out about her," Naruto thought as he wrapped an arm around Inuyasha. Naruto started to console Inuyasha only to stop when he sensed a shard of the scared jewel. Deciding it would be best to take care of this by himself. Since only Midoriko and to lesser extent Kohaku knew why they were searching for the jewel in the first place. Naruto knew that he couldn't leave Inuyasha with Inukimi or she'd rip him apart. So Naruto took out some ink and a paintbrush, then drew a seal on Inukimi's neck. 4 hand signs later Inukimi dropped to a knee panting. "Inuyasha, I've sealed some of Inukimi's power. At the moment she is no stronger than you. Take her back to the group and tell them I'll be along shortly." Inuyasha opened his mouth only to stop when Naruto vanished in a yellow flash. Naruto arrived at an open field to see a behemoth trying to squash the wolf demon he took the shards from. To his left he could hear whimpering. When he looked over he saw the 2 wolf demons who tried to stop him from taking the shards from Koga. The moment he looked at them they jumped in fear. "Oh no, he's looking at us, Hikaku," Ginta yelled. "Shut up, what is that thing?" Naruto questioned. "We don't know, all we know is it has a shard of the jewel. So Koga is attempting to take to replace the ones you and your lady friend took." Naruto heard enough, using his speed he sliced the behemoth's arm clean off his body. Koga looked around to see who did what he'd been trying for 30 minutes to do. When he saw Naruto he growled under his breath. "Where did you come from and how did you sever my arm?" the behemoth asked. "Answer my question and I'll answer yours." "Who are you?" Naruto asked. "I am Kayakatsu and I am a member of the Band of 7. Naruto looked at Kayakatsu with a smirk. "You mean you were a member?" Kayakatsu was unable to react as Naruto again used his speed, this time to cut the Band of 7 members' head off. As the body fell Naruto caught the head, then ripped the jewel shard out of the forehead, causing his head and the body to rapidly decay. "Hey, that's my jewel shard," Koga yelled at Naruto, who walked away. "You should have defeated him and got before I arrived. I swear you kids always trying to look good instead of getting the job done," Naruto said only to be cut off by Koga. "Just give me the shard and I won't have to hurt you." Naruto lowered and shook his head, then looked back up at Koga, who was preparing to attack Naruto. When Naruto looked up he took one step toward Koga, who tensed then fell to his knees grasping his stomach. Koga looked up and noticed Naruto was no longer in front of him just as he passed out. Naruto decided to take his time in getting back to the group, seeing as Inukimi wasn't that much of threat with the seal he put on her. With night falling Naruto figured the group would set up camp. As he made his way toward Midoriko's tent he noticed something moving in the air high above him. Curious, Naruto aimed then destroyed some of the beings that were actually flying. The immediate reaction was for whatever they were carrying to fall. Naruto leapt into the air and caught a woman who looked at him. "What or who are you?" the woman asked. "Friends call me Naruto, and you?" Naruto answered as he put the woman down. "My name is Kikyo. Were you the one who destroyed my soul collectors?" "Is that what those were? Actually been a long time since I've seen a soul collector. Are you human or demon? For some reason I can't get a good read on you. You know the only reason you would need soul collectors is to maintain a body." But that last statement Kikyo realized the man before her was a demon. However, what startled her was the fact that she couldn't sense he was a demon. Kikyo lined an arrow then fired at Naruto. Kikyo wasn't surprised that she hit him, no, what surprised her was the fact that he wasn't being purified. Instead he eyed her before pulling the arrow out of his shoulder where she'd hit him. Naruto looked at Kikyo only to stop when he noticed small bits of soul slowly leaking from her body. "How's it you weren't purified?" Kikyo asked as Naruto smiled. "Do you really think a cute priestess like you could purify the great Inari?" Kikyo froze as Naruto said Inari. That would explain why she couldn't purify him. She'd heard the stories of Inari. In fact, he was one of the few reasons she didn't kill Inuyasha when he first came for the jewel. Kikyo knew she shouldn't be in awe of a demon, however, now that she was face to face with the demon of legend she couldn't help it. Kikyo was thrust from her thoughts when she heard Naruto speaking. "So Kikyo, how long has it been since you passed from this world?" Naruto asked while Kikyo lowered her head. "Over 50 years, Inari-sama." Kikyo answered while Naruto placed a hand behind his head. "I can sense you have some of your original soul, but where is the rest of it?" "My soul had already been reincarnated. The only reason I'm able to move is because, like you said, I have a part of my original soul. I can help you. I have a technique that will be able to recreate the rest of your soul, then we can move that soul into a recently deceased body, which will take on your soul's form." Kikyo couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Inari could give her a chance to live again. She didn't need any time to think about it. Kikyo agreed. Naruto told her he would have to take care of some business at Mount Hakure first. However, once he was finished he'd take her back to his home to perform the ritual. Naruto suggested that she stay away from any battle until she was in a new living body. Kikyo asked where she should go to meet him. To which Naruto responded now that he had her scent there was no place in the world she could hide from him. Kikyo nodded, then bowed before making her back the way she'd come. Naruto decided it was time to get back to the group, so using his speed, he got the group's location within minutes. Upon his arrival he noticed the two groups separated with hostility filling the air. Clearing his throat, Inuyasha's group turned their attention to him as did Sango. Naruto held up a shard of the jewel to Midoriko, who smiled. However, Moroku and Inuyasha demanded that he hand the jewel shard to them. Naruto instead gave the shard to Midoriko. The instant it touched her hand, the part of her soul that was in the shard made its way into her body, while the demon that also inhabited the shard was instantly destroyed. "What happened? Where did the jewel shard go?" Moroku asked. The jewel shard was simply Priestess Midoriko's soul combined with a demon's soul. So when she touches the jewel or its shards, she getting her soul back on piece at a time. "Without her soul the jewel can't exist," Kahaku answered. "Plus if you want to make sure demons don't get a hold of it, well, this is the best way. The instant I used the shard from Kahaku to resurrect Midoriko, there was no chance of the jewel ever becoming complete again," Naruto added on. Inuyasha's group sat wide-eyed. The explanation they were given made sense. With that, Kagome gave Midoriko the few shards that her group had. Once Midoriko finished integrating the pieces of her soul, Naruto tossed her a kunai which she covered with her spiritual energy. Midoriko then launched the kunai at a tree which it went through, while repeating the action with the next 5 trees in a row behind it. Midoriko smirked, with every bit of her soul she took back. Her spiritual powers were 5 times strong than they were the last time she wielded them. Naruto took a seat next to Midoriko, while Shippo and Kurara occupied his shoulders. "Looks like getting the jewel shards from this Naraku won't be easy, Kahaku," Naruto said to the confused boy. "Why not, Inari-sama?" "I met that wolf whose shards I took the last time I met him." "Wait, wolf, you mean Koga? You took his jewel shards, how is he supposed to survive without them?" Kagome questioned Naruto. "The same way he did before he got them," Midoriko answered for Naruto. "Look, Kagome was it. The jewel is Midoriko's property, end of story. I could have killed the wolf, but I didn't. Today he was foolish enough to stand in my path and I didn't kill him. Now, as I was saying, the wolf was fighting an undead human brought to life by power of the jewel shard. Before I killed him he told me he was a part of the Band of 7. Naruto explained. "Must be here to do Naraku's dirty work for him," Inuyasha added. "Don't tell me the big bad Inari is afraid of humans," Inukimi taunted. "So do you think this Band of 7 will attack us?" Shippo asked while Naruto nodded. "But it's more than that, Shippo. For a member to be here, I think Naraku has positioned them to prevent people from getting to the mountain." "So you think the closer we get to Mount Hakure the more likelihood that we will be attacked?" Moroku asked. "You all make sure to get some rest. I was going to stay and make sure this dog didn't get naughty after everyone was asleep anyway." Everyone nodded, lying down, while Naruto grabbed Inukimi's leash from Inuyasha. Once Naruto was sure everyone was asleep he waved Inukimi over to him. The dog demon ignored him only to have her leash pulled. With a growl, Inukimi stood up to make her way over to Naruto, only to be told to stop. Naruto instructed her to crawl over to him on her hands and knees. Knowing the fox demon would inform the entire world of her secret, Inukimi did as she was told. "Why won't you leave me alone, you old perverted fox?" Inukimi asked a little loud than intended. Now you make it seem like I was the one who had a crush on you," Naruto said, getting Inukimi to actually blush. "I was a young girl in awe of your presence, but I have changed now." Naruto stared at Inukimi before grabbing her breast through her clothes, drawing a moan from Inukimi. Naruto used his free hand to reach her pants and tease her clit, causing her to fall against him while panting uncontrollably. Inukimi hated the fact that he had this power over. Centuries ago when she first told him that she loved him, he smiled and patted her on the head. Sure, he teased her like he was doing at that moment, but he would never take her the way she wanted him to. As Inukimi leaned against him she glared at Midoriko who was resting on his right side. What did that priestess have that she didn't? Inukimi's big secret that Naruto knew was she never loved Inuyasha. She really believes that was the reason that Naruto disliked her so. She had played his student and by association she had played him. Please take me here and now. Your power is keeping them asleep, so there is no chance they will know. Inukimi said, causing Naruto stop. I do this for a reason, Inukimi, to make sure you understand that at any time I chose I could take you. I chose not to at his time. Don't you want, what is it you foxes call them, kits? I can give you many to help carry on your legacy. Once Midoriko has all of her soul back she too will give me many kits. As for my legacy I think it will be just fine. Naruto released the seal on Inukimi's neck, then told her to leave. Frustrated, Inukimi retied her kimono, then left the campsite, not one time looking at Naruto. Said Fox Demon sighed. He felt he had to punish Inukimi, it might seem cruel punishing her for so long. However, she was demon, her lifespan was a lot longer than a human's. She was already over 3,000 years old, he would eventually stop teasing her and give her what she wanted, sure. Naruto just wanted to see how long she would keep coming back. So far she was doing well, she'd been coming over 600 years now. Naruto's focus at this moment was getting Midoriko back to full strength, which started tomorrow. What Naruto didn't tell the group was he could feel the evil intentions of what he assumed to be the Band of Seven. If they held their position and his group continued to move toward them, tomorrow would be a day of battle. The thought caused Naruto to smile. It had been a long time since he'd fought in an actual war. What if Godlike Naruto Reincarnation of Inuyasha, and thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.